Chapter 1220. There was no movement from VIP Booth 10, but everyone knew that VIP Booth 8 was definitely courting death. This was simply adding fuel to the fire. After saying this, even Uncle Luo in VIP Booth 10 snorted coldly with a hint of anger on his face. A sharp killing intent rushed out of the booth and blasted directly at VIP Booth 8. It was clearly a Dao rune killing intent, but it was like a surging Yangtze River. What fell was a powerful sword intent aura. The old fogey sneered. A mere mid-stage primordial chaos cultivator dared to be arrogant in front of him. An illusory cauldron shadow rushed out of the top of the booth. Its majestic aura was like a huge pocket, ready to take away all the sword intent that filled the sky. Ning Cheng shook his head speechlessly. Did this old fogey have to be quiet? This was a critical moment, not a time for him to pick a fight with others. He still hadn't obtained the breathing soil. However, Ning Cheng soon stopped thinking about it. The old fogey had come from ancient times and naturally had his own pride. He might have addressed him as a senior because he thought that Ning Cheng was more ancient than him. If the old fogey knew that Ning Cheng was not the reincarnation of an almighty, he would not have been so submissive even if Ning Cheng's strength completely crushed the old fogey. It was impossible for such a proud fellow to not fight back when someone took the initiative to attack him. Even his last sentence was because the young man in VIP Booth 10 had arrogantly pointed at him and asked him to come out. This fellow cultivated the Karma Dao, so he did not forget such trivial things. Bang! A dull sound was heard. The long sword-like sword intent and the cauldron shadow did not collide. Instead, they were directly grabbed by a big hand and dissipated without a trace. Everyone in the auction venue was horrified. This was definitely the attack of a perfected Dao integration expert. Sure enough, in the next moment, a stern voice was heard. If the people in Booth 8 and Booth 10 still dare to ignore the rules of my Infinite Realm auction and start a fight here, then they will be the enemies of my Infinite Realm auction. You are never welcome to enter the Infinite Realm auction in the future. Hearing this, Uncle Luo, who was in room number 10, calmed down. Naturally, he would not attack again. Instead, he said in a deep voice, "Huang Ping, I will tell your father about what happened today." This matter was completely instigated by Yi Huangping. If it wasn't for Yi Huangping arrogantly pointing at room 8 and telling them to get out calmly, there probably wouldn't have been a fight just now. There was one more thing that he didn't mention. Not only did the Infinite Realm auction not punish room 10, but it also didn't punish room 8. It could be seen that the origin of room number 8 was not simple. The sect master had a lot of things to do now. He had stayed in the beyond of heaven and earth to stabilize his position in the sacred Dao world, not to cause trouble. Fortunately, he had come along because of the matter regarding the living soil. If he hadn't come along with Yi Huangping's arrogant and conceited personality, it was very likely that something big would have happened. The auction venue was in an uproar. No one thought that someone would dare to make a move in the Myriad World auction. More people were in awe of the Myriad World auction. The Myriad World auction's palm seal had directly melted the two experts' attacks. However, some of the more knowledgeable people could see it even more clearly. Room 8 was the same as Room 10. Both of them had extraordinary origins. If an ordinary person had dared to cause trouble in the Myriad World auction, he would have been killed by the Myriad World auction long ago. In fact, when the people in the two private rooms caused trouble, the Infinite Realm auction house only reprimanded them a few times and let it go. On the top floor of the Myriad World auction, Shi Lin and an old man were sitting opposite each other. There was silence between the two of them, as though something had happened. After a long while, the old man said, "I'm sure that although the Dao rune strength of the cauldron shadow is far beyond that of an ordinary early-stage primordial chaos expert, it is far from being able to smash Mao Tai's arm with one punch." Just now, he had blocked the attack of the Sword River and the Cauldron Shadow, so he was very clear about this. Shi Lin was silent for a while before saying, "Brother Hu, Ning Cheng's strength is unquestionable. Otherwise, Feng Huangmei would not have dared to make a move and the Mao family would not have compromised with him. I reckon that even I might not be a match for him. This person is very strange and possesses the Seven Bridges divine ability. As for the Cauldron Shadow just now, I suspect that he deliberately concealed his strength or did it to give face to our auction. The old man frowned but could only agree with Shilin. Fortunately, the female cultivator hosting the auction also knew that sparks were flying between the two rooms. Thus, she hurriedly patted the wooden block. Next, we will be bidding on a section of the Outer Realm Fog Silk. Some people might not know about the Outer Realm Fog Silk. Let me explain. The Outer Realm Fog Silk generally grows in places outside the realm where there are no heaven-earth laws and it is always moving. Therefore, this kind of treasure is very difficult to obtain. However, the function of the Outer Realm Fog Silk is something that everyone yearns for. This is a treasure that can allow a second-step Dao integration Sacred Emperor to gain insight into the third-step creation realm. Sure enough, before the female auctioneer finished speaking, the entire auction venue was filled with a roar. A third-step creation realm expert was simply an unattainable existence. They had not expected that such a treasure would be sold at this auction. This was an eye-opener. However, the sacred emperors who knew the true function of the Outer Realm Fog Silk remained calm. He did not believe that the Outer Realm Fog Silk could allow a Dao integration sacred emperor to gain insight into the third-step creation realm. If it really had such a terrifying effect, why would the Myriad Realm Auction House take it out for auction? Therefore, the third-step creation realm Fog Silk was definitely a cover. The beautiful female cultivator smiled and waited for everyone to quiet down before continuing. Of course, obtaining the Outer Realm Fog Silk does not mean that you can reach the third-step Dao validation realm. The Outer Realm Fog Silk only gives you an opportunity, and this opportunity is less than 10%. This also involves your aptitude, understanding of the Great Dao and Heaven-Earth laws, as well as the Dao runes of the Great Dao produced after using the Outer Realm Fog Silk. Alright, I won't say any more. After all, the Outer Realm Fog Silk is too precious. Even my auction house cannot afford to use it. The starting price of the Outer Realm Fog Silk is 500 million high-grade divine crystals. Each increment must be no less than 10 million divine crystals. The bidding begins now. Even though the price was high, the price on the bidding monitor screen still refreshed extremely quickly. In a short time, the price had risen to 1 billion. This time, booth number 8 and booth number 10 did not make a move. The bid of 1 billion was from an ordinary booth, and the price had also slowed down by this time. Should we make a move? A middle-aged man in booth number 5 asked. If this booth opened, Ning Cheng would have recognized the few people inside. They were all from the Mao clan, including the Mao clan's patriarch, Mao Wuxiao. The Mao clan originally wanted to bid for the soul-gathering Immortal Lotus for Mao Kai, but the soul-gathering Immortal Lotus was being fought over by booth number 8 and booth number 10. The Mao clan could not afford to offend these two booths. Therefore, they could only keep their mouths shut and not bid. Mao Wuxiao pondered for a moment before saying, "The Outer Realm Fog Silk does not live up to its name, but having a chance is better than not having a chance. Now that Ning Cheng and the person behind him have fallen out, it is a great thing for my Mao clan. My Mao clan has already lost 100 billion divine crystals, so why would we care about a few billion divine crystals? Let's directly bid 5 billion divine crystals. If it works, let Zhenyu try. If he still can't get it, then forget it." At that moment, the price had soared to 3 billion divine crystals. Booth number 4 directly quoted the price of the Outer Realm Fog Silk as 5 billion divine crystals. As soon as 5 billion divine crystals were quoted, the price stopped immediately. Not only was the price a little high, but it was also the price quoted by booth number 4. Cultivators in heavens beyond of heaven and earth knew that the first 10 booths of the Myriad Realm auction were occupied by experts. If they wanted to compete, they would have to see if it was worth it. 5 billion divine crystals going once. 5 billion divine crystals going twice. 5 billion divine crystals going thrice. Congratulations to booth number 4 for winning the Outer Realm Fog Silk at the price of 5 billion divine crystals. Although the pretty female cultivator presiding over the auction congratulated them, she felt a little depressed. She had hoped to get billions of divine crystals for the Outer Realm Fog Silk, But in the end, it had only been 1.5 billion divine crystals, which was far inferior to the soul-gathering immortal lotus. The transaction ended quickly without any twists and turns. The female cultivator presiding over the auction took out a wooden box and placed it on the void jade plate. Before the female cultivator presiding over the auction could speak, Ning Cheng's eyes narrowed. The wooden box was wrapped in a restriction, but he still had a hunch that the item in the wooden box was the growing soil. He had not expected that the Myriad Realm auction would auction the soul-gathering immortal lotus and the growing soil one after another. It seemed like this was also a way to express their gratitude to him, just like the 50 million divine crystals. Whether it was the other party's apology or friendship, it was not important to Ning Cheng now. Now, he had to go all out and get this piece of growing soil. Chapter 12:21. The auction venue, which was still in an uproar over the outer world mist silk, instantly turned silent after the jade box was placed on the jade plate. Many people realized that this item was not ordinary. The pretty female cultivator hosting the auction smiled and said calmly, "This auction item is not simple. It used to be one of my Myriad World Auction's 9 greatest treasures, breath soil." As soon as the 2 words breath soil came out, the auction venue immediately went into an uproar. Even if the soul-gathering immortal lotus had its limitations, and the true effects of the outer world mist silk were still uncertain, then breath soil was a true treasure. It was a great opportunity for anyone to obtain the breathing soil. Breath soil was the head of the primal chaos 5 soils. In fact, most people had only heard of breath soil and had never heard of the other 4 soils. As long as you had breath soil, no matter what kind of spiritual grass or treasure you cultivated, you would never fail. Breath soil condensed the essence of heaven and earth. Not only could it be used to cultivate spiritual grasses and treasures, but it also contained the mysteries of heaven and earth and endless Tao charm laws. Having the soil of breath meant that you were standing at a higher place than others. One could even say that breath soil was the true treasure of heaven and earth. The auction venue quickly quietened down, and everyone stared at the breath soil on the jade plate. Most people knew that they were not qualified to bid for the growing soil. Even so, they wanted to know which of the first 10 boxes would win the growing soil. I don't have to say anything about the preciousness of breath soil, but I believe everyone knows about it. The starting price of this breath soil is 1 billion high-grade spirit crystals, and each increase must be no less than 100 million. We accept all kinds of bartering. The female cultivator hosting the auction had just finished speaking when the price on the monitoring screen rose sharply. In just a short time, it rose to 3 billion. The price of breath soil was definitely more than 3 billion spirit crystals. However, when the price reached 3 billion spirit crystals, not many people could afford it. This price was just too high. 4 billion high-grade spirit crystals. After a pause, the price on the monitoring screen refreshed again. Everyone could clearly see that this was the bid from Booth 8. Booth 8 was definitely a rich person. From his bid, one could tell that most people were increasing the bid by 100 million. However, Booth 8 immediately increased the bid by 1 billion, showing just how rich he was. When the bid of 4 billion high-grade spirit crystals came out, the venue once again turned silent. Everyone knew that this was not the end. The bidding war for the breath soil had just begun. The breath soil was definitely worth more than 4 billion divinity crystals, but no one knew who would be competing with Booth 8. In room 10, the young man looked at the bidding screen and said, "Brother, we can make our move now." The young man who was addressed as brother had an ugly expression on his face. He even gritted his teeth and said, "It's this number 8 again. This guy is simply too arrogant. Huang Ping, don't use divine crystals. Just use divine essence elixirs." Uncle Luo's face was also very serious. The breath soil was very important to them and they could not afford to lose it. The youth called Huang Ping took a deep breath, clenched his fists and said, "Uncle Luo, don't worry. I will definitely not let this person succeed. I will let him see how strong our Yi clan is." After saying that, he directly engraved 70 million divine essence pills on the bidding Dharma artifact. The price has been refreshed. This time, it's 70 million divine essence pills. That's 7 billion divine crystals, someone exclaimed. It's booth number 10. It's going to be interesting this time. There were many discussions in the auction hall. By this time, some cultivators who couldn't bid for the breath soil had already come to watch the show. This kind of exciting competition was even more exciting than the auction itself. Ning Cheng frowned slightly. This wasn't a good thing for him. Ning Cheng also knew about divine essence pills. Few people would take them out for trading. Divine essence pills were purified from spirit veins, just like the permanent essence pills in the starry sky. Divine essence pills were better than high-grade divine crystals in that they were easier to absorb. Because they weren't refined using medicinal herbs, they didn't contain pill toxins. More importantly, divine essence pills contained a trace of La Aura, which would help cultivators gain enlightenment. A divine essence pill was equivalent to 100 high-grade divine crystals. Since booth number 10 bid 70 million divine essence pills, it was 7 billion high-grade divine crystals. Even the old fogey found it a bit difficult. He only had about 10 billion divine crystals on him. This booth number 10 didn't have an ordinary background. He even bid 70 million divine essence pills in one go. 70 million divine essence pills made even Ning Cheng envious. The pretty female cultivator hosting the auction showed a smile and spoke slowly. Booth number 10 bid 70 million divine essence pills, which is equivalent to 7 billion spirit crystals. Is there any higher price than this? As soon as he said that, the price on the bidding screen refreshed again. The price was 8 billion divine crystals and 10 supreme-grade divine spiritual veins. Top-grade spirit veins were different from high-grade divine crystals. Few people used them for cultivation. Most people used them to decorate caves. Because a complete top-grade spirit vein would have a complete La Aura. It was a waste to use it for cultivation alone. Even if one wanted to use a top-grade spirit vein for cultivation, one would have to first arrange a spiritual gathering grand array. To everyone's surprise, this bid didn't come from booth number 8, but from an ordinary booth. Booth number 133 on the second floor. The pretty female cultivator hosting the auction didn't seem surprised by this and called out again. Booth 133 on the second floor bids 8 billion spirit crystals and 10 top-grade spirit veins. The price has been refreshed once again. Is there any higher bid than this? The old fogey knew that his bid was just to help Ning Cheng divert his attention. He didn't expect that there would be someone else besides booth number 10 who desired the breath soil so much. Ning Cheng hadn't made a move yet, which made the old fogey hesitant to continue increasing the price. He didn't worry about increasing the price to the point where he couldn't afford it. He felt sure that as long as he increased the price to the point where he couldn't afford it, Ning Cheng would take it over. While the old fogey struggled, the youth in booth number 10 grew even angrier. It seemed that he was right. If there was one, there would be two. After booth number 8 competed with booth number 10, even an ordinary booth dared to compete with booth number 10. 150 million divine essence pills, 20 supreme-grade divine spiritual meridians, and 2 glazed light fruits. The young man reported almost everything he could take out. The youth next to him frowned slightly and said, "Brother, if you bid like this, what are we going to use to compete for the innate Dragon Ball?" The youth froze for a moment before coming to his senses. They came here today not only to bid for the breath soil but also the innate Dragon Ball. Without waiting for the youth to speak, Uncle Luo shook his head and said, "Beung, there's no hope for the innate Dragon Ball. Looking at today's trend, even if Huang Ping's bid just now, we might not be able to win the breath soil. The competition for the breath soil has far exceeded our previous expectations." As soon as this bid was made, the auction hall was completely stirred up. The 2 glazed light fruits alone were enough to make countless people jealous, let alone the 150 million spirit essence pills and the 20 top-grade spirit veins. The glazed light fruit was a pure Tao law fruit that could allow one to comprehend all kinds of laws in the universe, including the time law and space law. Ordinary Tao modeling divine emperors had a preliminary understanding of the time law and space law and could even use it to fuse with their divine abilities. However, it was very difficult to truly control the time law or space law or take a deeper step to comprehend these things. Once one's understanding of the Tao law was insufficient, they would need to find other opportunities. The glazed light fruit was such a pure Tao law fruit. More people looked at booth number 8. Since booth number 10's bid was so terrifying, they wondered what earth-shattering price booth number 8 would offer in order to compete for the breath soil. Moreover, it was not the first time booth number 8 and booth number 10 were competing, so this competition was even more interesting. Even Shi Lin and the other Tao integration stage cultivator in the top floor private room were looking toward private room number 8. The Infinite Realm auction did not take out the breath soil to exchange for some divine essence pills and the 2 glazed light fruits. It was for the black-yellow chi with the aura of the origin, chaotic chi, and even the essence of the universe. If it was not to expand the Infinite Realm auction's influence and to divert the source of the essence of the universe, the Infinite Realm auction would not have taken out the breath soil to auction. Of course, there was another reason. The Infinite Realm auction wanted to see if something more precious than the essence of the universe would appear in the auction. However, nothing more precious than the quintessential essence of the universe or the 5-element chaos chi had appeared during the auction of the growing soil. If it was purely for divine crystals, the Infinite Realm auction would not take out the breath soil no matter how many divine crystals there were. Shi Lin was not in a hurry, as he could see that Ning Qing really wanted the breath soil. He believed that after the bid from booth number 10 came out, booth number 8 would go all out. The pretty female cultivator hosting the auction said with a smile, "Booth number 10 is really generous." Not only did he take out 150 million divine essence pills, but he also took out 20 supreme-grade divine spirit meridians and even took out 2 glazed light fruits. I wonder if there will be a higher bid? If there is no higher bid, then this breath soil will belong to booth number 10. The pretty female cultivator was not disappointed. After she finished speaking, the price on the bidding monitoring screen refreshed immediately. A new bid appeared on the bidding screen. 30 billion high-grade divine crystals, 30 supreme-grade divine spirit meridians, and a bottle of Heaven Essence Heavenly Pill refined from the Heaven Essence fruit. The Heaven Essence Heavenly Pill also states that it can allow a first-step Tao validation Sacred Emperor to directly comprehend the second-step Tao validation. The bid itself was terrifying enough. What was even more shocking was that the bid did not come from a booth, but from an ordinary seat at the bottom of the auction hall. Hall 3, row 237, seat 105. If it were not for the bidding screen clearly showing the location of this seat, no one would have known where it was. After Ning Qing made the bid, he felt a little unhappy. He knew that the Infinite Realm auction had done this on purpose. Otherwise, no one would have known which seat had made the bid. Chapter 12:22. Can the Heaven Essence fruit be used for alchemy? Yeah, I've heard of the Heavenly Heaven pill, but isn't the Heavenly Heaven fruit unable to be added into the pill? Who said that the Heaven Essence fruit can't be added into the elixir? It was only because the conditions to enter the pill were more stringent. Because the Heaven Essence Heavenly Pill contains the second-step Heaven-Earth law, it must be refined in a realm with complete laws. When Ning Cheng's offer came out, in addition to shock, there were even more discussions. No matter what kind of discussion it was, it did not affect the fact that Ning Cheng's offer far exceeded the offer from booth 10. Hall C, ground floor, row 237, number 105 offers 30 billion high-grade God crystals, 30 peak-grade God spiritual veins, and a bottle of Heavenly Pill. Is there a higher offer than this? If there is no higher bid, then the growing soil treasure will be taken by this fellow Taoist. Although the pretty-looking female cultivator presiding over the auction still called out the price in a crisp voice, her voice no longer had the same joy as before. In fact, it even felt as if she was deliberately stalling for time. No matter how long she dragged it out, no one would bid for it within the allotted time, and she would still have to announce her bid. 30 billion high-grade God crystals, 30 supreme-grade God spiritual veins, and a bottle of Heavenly Heaven pill. Shi Lin, who was sitting in a box at the top of the auction hall, had a slight change in his expression. He suddenly stood up and shouted, "What is number 8 up to? Why didn't he bid? Hurry up and call the people from our auction house to bid, otherwise." Shi Lin's words suddenly came to a halt. The worry on his face had also dissipated a little, because he had seen the bid from booth number 8. After every private room made a bid, the red light in front of the room would flash 3 times. You don't have to worry about it. Since that Ning Cheng is so eager for the breath soil, then he would definitely bid for it. If we're not satisfied with his offer, we can increase the price. Seeing Shi Lin sit down, the old man opposite him laughed and said, 30 billion high-grade god crystals, 30 supreme-grade god spiritual veins, and 1 bottle of heavenly essence pill. The pretty female cultivator presiding over the auction spoke with a dry voice. The current price was still far from the bottom line of the Myriad Worlds auction. But no one was bidding, so she had no choice but to continue. The reason why the Myriad Realm auction could be so big was to let everyone understand that the Myriad Realm auction was fair. Of course, even if he was faking it, he wouldn't let others know. If she openly paused to report, it would be too obvious that she was lying. She was wondering why the Myriad World auction house wasn't bidding at this time. Could it be that Hall C, row 237, room 105 was arranged by the Infinite Worlds auction house? She was a little uncertain. Something wasn't right. Why was the bid displayed on the bidding monitor screen still the same as room 8, row 237, room 105 at the bottom of the 3rd hall? Shi Lin stood up once again. At the same time, he instantly understood what was going on. Room 8 had made a bid, but the bid was lower than the bid for room 105 in row 237 of hall 3 on the ground floor. Therefore, it was unable to surpass the previous bid. In other words, when the Infinite Circles Commerce Hall wanted to quote a price, booth number 8 gave a false price. Hurry up and let the auction house bid, hurry. Just as Shi Lin's words spread out, the female cultivator hosting the auction had already reported 30 billion high-grade god crystals, 30 peak-grade god spiritual veins, a bottle of Heaven Yuan heavenly pill going thrice. Congratulations, number 105, row 237, 3rd hall, 3rd floor, for winning the soil of breath. Shi Lin sat down dispiritedly. He knew that he had been tricked. He wanted the Infinite Circles auction to take advantage of him. When he schemed against Ning Cheng must have also schemed against the Infinite Circles auction. He was even sure that room 105 in row 237 of hall 3 on the ground floor had a relationship with room 8. Otherwise, they wouldn't have such tacit understanding. He swore that after this auction, he would remove the flashing red light. The old man sitting across from Shi Lin also understood what was going on. His eyes flashed with killing intent. Someone actually dared to scheme against the Infinite Circles auction. Manager Shi, as long as that Ning Cheng wants the innate Dragon Ball, he will spit out everything he swallowed. The old man glanced at Shi Lin and said with a frown. Shi Lin nodded, that's the only way. My Infinite Circles auction's soil of breath isn't that easy to obtain. After saying that, he immediately sent out several messages, asking people to keep an eye on room 105 in row 237 of hall 3 on the ground floor. In any case, he would never let such a situation happen to the innate Dragon Ball. When Ning Cheng grabbed the jade box, he knew that it was indeed soil of breath. He was also pleasantly surprised. He never thought that he would get the soil of breath at this price. He thought that the auction house would take the initiative to increase the price until he came up with a price that satisfied the auction house. This satisfactory price naturally included the primal chaos chi and the true essence of the universe. He didn't expect that when the female cultivator presiding over the auction started to call out, the auction house wouldn't find anyone to increase the price. This made him feel that this was an opportunity. He didn't hesitate to send a spiritual sense message to the old fogey and let the old fogey quote a price. However, this price had to be lower than his original price. As long as people knew that he had made a bid, it would be fine. Ning Cheng didn't think that it would work. If it didn't work, he would continue to increase the price. Ning Cheng didn't expect it to work. It was a pleasant surprise. Ning Cheng happily put away the soil of breath. He didn't think that the auction would be fair, and that it would belong to whoever won it. It was most likely that his plan had succeeded, causing the old fogey to call out a price that affected the auction house's judgment, allowing him to pick up a bargain. Ning Cheng also understood that although the soil of breath was cheap, the innate Dragon Ball wouldn't have such a bargain. For him, the innate Dragon Ball was just a convenient auction. It didn't matter if he couldn't get it. The most important thing was the soil of breath. Now that he had obtained the soil of breath and the soul-gathering immortal lotus, he had basically completed his task in this auction. Uncle Luo. The young man in booth 10, on seeing the successful transaction of the soil of breath from a cultivator sitting in an ordinary seat on the lower floor, immediately released his spiritual consciousness towards Ning Cheng's seat and called out. The man addressed as Uncle Luo's face sank. Huang Ping, you can use other methods to trade for the soil of breath from the other party. If you use a forceful method, not to mention the sect master and your father, even I, Luo Qinghe, would not let you off. The young man's face also turned ugly. Uncle Luo, we cultivators are originally defying the heavens. We have too many scruples. How could there be so many things in the world waiting to be delivered to us? Of course, I would first use some top-quality treasures to exchange with him. Only in case he doesn't agree to it, then I would use force. He felt a bit disdainful of Uncle Luo's fearful personality. If it weren't for his good luck, he wouldn't have been able to reach this point in the starry skies where only the strong were respected. Uncle Luo gave a cold snort and didn't speak again. After the auction of the soil of breath, the enthusiasm of the venue weakened a lot. Although many treasures appeared later, none of them could compare to the soul-gathering immortal lotus or the soil of breath. 3 days passed by in a flash, and the auction was already halfway through. Ning Cheng, who had been anxious for a long time, finally heard the sound of the innate dragon pearl. The pretty-looking female cultivator presiding over the auction placed a jade box on a jade plate. Fellow Taoists, just like the soil of breath from before, this innate dragon pearl is also a treasure of my myriad circles commerce hall. The base price of this innate dragon pearl is 1 billion spirit crystals, and each bid must be at least 100 million spirit crystals. The bidding starts now. The young man in booth 10 was just about to bid when he saw the auction's bidding monitor. Someone had already made an offer, and the price he offered far exceeded his current net worth. 50 billion spirit crystals, 100 top-quality spirit veins, and 3 primordial rainbow glow fruits. This price not only stunned the young man in booth 10, but even Ning Cheng felt shocked. Even he couldn't offer such a price. He would never take out so many things for an innate dragon pearl. Even he didn't have the primordial rainbow glow fruit. It was a Tao fruit that could help Tao Essence Holy Emperors advance to primordial chaos realm. Excluding the fact that this bid didn't have any top-quality treasures like the essence of the universe, it really wasn't low in terms of value. The entire auction hall was stunned by this bid. This was the first time someone offered such a high price. Was this to prevent others from participating in the auction? Ning Cheng didn't participate in the bidding. This price was too high for him. With the soil of breath in hand, he would never take out a treasure like the essence of the universe to bid for the innate dragon pearl. The female cultivator presiding over the auction also felt shocked by this price. After a while, she realized that the price hadn't changed. She had to say, Booth 324 on the bottom floor bids 50 billion spirit crystals, 100 top-quality spirit veins, and 3 primordial rainbow glow fruits. Shi Lin looked at the motionless bidding screen with a gloomy face. Before the female cultivator presiding over the auction could finish her sentence, he took out a communication bead and said, "Bid with all your strength. Take back the innate dragon pearl. We won't be bidding for this innate dragon pearl." Booth 8 hadn't moved yet. Apparently, it didn't intend to bid for the innate dragon pearl. The Myriad World auction had been hunting geese all day, but today, the geese pecked his eyes. 100 billion god crystals, 200 supreme-grade god spiritual veins, and a sun eclipse treasure eye pearl. The bidding screen finally refreshed, and this price caused an uproar once again. It wasn't normal for the innate dragon pearl to be bid 50 billion spirit crystals, 100 top-quality spirit veins, and 3 primordial rainbow glow fruits. The second bid was even more abnormal. It was more than double the original bid. Just the value of one eclipse treasure pupil was immeasurable, not to mention 100 billion spirit crystals and 200 top-quality spirit veins. However, it wasn't surprising for someone to behave abnormally the second time. Most people just felt that the innate dragon pearl was precious and wanted to snatch it. Ning Cheng sighed. He knew that if he wanted the innate dragon pearl, he would have to go to the Myriad World Auction. With such a move, the Myriad World Auction definitely knew that he didn't intend to bid and decided to take it back. The fellow who bid 50 billion spirit crystals and 100 top-quality spirit veins would be disappointed. 100 billion spirit crystals, 200 top-quality spirit veins, and 1 eclipse treasure pupil. Is there any higher bid than this? The female cultivator presiding over the auction hadn't finished speaking when Ning Cheng felt a water-attributed law fluctuation in the space. This law aura extended from booth 324 to the auction stage in almost a blink of an eye. Not good, someone wants to snatch the innate dragon pearl. Just as Ning Cheng thought of this, he saw a water ripple appear on the auction stage in a flash. "Madman, how dare you!" Almost at the same time as this water ripple wrapped around the innate dragon pearl, several shouts came from all directions. The entire auction venue went berserk, and all kinds of Dao charm auras and law power filled the space. Chapter 12:23. Return to the inn immediately. Ning Cheng sent a spiritual force message to the old fogey and opened the restriction. Ning Cheng was sure that under such circumstances, the Myriad Realm auction would not be able to suppress the situation unless there was a creation realm expert here. Once they couldn't suppress it, the auction would end prematurely. For them, it was best to leave as soon as possible. Ning Cheng didn't know if the Myriad Realm auction had a third-step creation realm expert, but he was sure that there was no creation realm expert at the Myriad Realm auction. If there was, they would not have waited for that person to rush to the auction stage with his water-attributed nomological spirit power. Even Ning Cheng had sensed the spatial ripple. How could a creation realm expert be so weak? Boom! The water ripple blasted the restriction supporting the array, which directly blasted open a gap. The next moment, the jade box in the gap was swept away by the water ripple. Ning Cheng saw it clearly and couldn't help but exclaim in his heart that it was a good thing. Even he couldn't blast open the restriction supporting the array in a short time. The reason why the water ripple blasted open the restriction supporting the array and snatched the jade box so quickly was that the water ripple contained a top-notch crack talisman. The value of this talisman alone was probably not low. As long as one had this talisman, even if one was trapped in a powerful restriction, they would have a chance to tear the restriction and escape. Now that this person had used this precious crack talisman and his water ripple to snatch the jade box, it showed how much he wanted the Khanate Dragon Pearl. Bang, bang, bang. At the same time, several experts from the Myriad Realm auction attacked the mysterious expert who had used the water ripple and crack talisman. Dao runes exploded and the laws collapsed. The violent aura directly blasted the auction stage into nothingness. The power of the Dao runes spread out, and even the Myriad Realm auction's auction house cracked. As Ning Cheng expected, the hundreds of thousands of cultivators participating in the Myriad Realm auction fled. No one wanted to stay in the auction under the attack of such an expert. The old fogey's escape technique was top-notch. After Ning Cheng sent him a message, he immediately rushed out of the auction house. As for Ning Cheng, he had just opened the restriction when a dozen figures rushed over. None of these figures were weak, and the weakest one was at the mid-stage primordial chaos realm. Ning Cheng sneered. These people really wanted to fish in troubled waters, and had already set their eyes on him. On the surface, his cultivation level was only at the primordial Dao realm. Furthermore, his simulated cultivation level was completely integrated with the surrounding Dao rune laws. In such a short time, not many people could see through it. He couldn't see through Ning Cheng's true strength. Almost none of the primordial chaos experts attacking him used any great spiritual power. All of them wanted to capture Ning Cheng and escape in the shortest time possible. At this time, Ning Cheng would not show any mercy. The breath soil was a good thing, but if one wanted to snatch it, one would have to pay a price. All the people who attacked him were instantly trapped in a frozen space. Several late-stage primordial chaos experts understood what was going on almost as soon as Ning Cheng's icebound space formed. Ning Cheng concealed his cultivation. The Dao charm laws of this space-sealing spirit technique weren't something a Dao essence holy emperor could cast. Even late-stage primordial chaos experts might not necessarily be able to conjure such a stable nomological ice-sealed space. Several primordial chaos experts understood that Ning Cheng had concealed his cultivation level and immediately began to retreat. Since he had already made a move, how could Ning Cheng allow the other party to retreat? Since he had chosen to rob them, he had to pay the price. At that moment, his dark consciousness blasted out completely. Be it the primordial chaos sacred emperors in the middle of Ning Cheng's icebound space or the primordial chaos sacred emperors who had torn Ning Cheng's icebound space apart, they felt their extended spiritual senses being completely devoured when Ning Cheng's dark consciousness blasted out. Several primordial chaos sacred emperors with slightly weaker cultivation levels couldn't resist the backlash of the dark consciousness blast at all. Their spiritual seas were directly torn apart and collapsed. Several blood arrows sprayed in the cracked icebound space. Several primordial chaos experts whose spiritual seas had been destroyed fell from the void. Before they could land on the ground, Ning Cheng had already swept away their rings. Bam, bam, bam. By the time these primordial chaos sacred emperors landed on the ground, Ning Cheng had already disappeared from the venue of the Myriad Realm auction. The late-stage primordial chaos experts whose spiritual seas had been seriously injured and had escaped were horrified. If they had been half a step slower, that terrifying divine power that had torn apart their spiritual seas would have swept them all in. At that moment, they felt horrified just staying there for a while, let alone finding out who had injured them. The cultivators who had wanted to rob Ning Cheng but were a step behind turned around and fled without thinking when they saw such a terrifying scene. Would they be waiting for death if they didn't flee? How could a person who had killed several primordial chaos sacred emperors while being besieged by more than 10 primordial chaos sacred emperors be simple? This was either a top-notch perfected primordial chaos expert or a Dao integration expert. Robbing a Dao integration expert was simply courting death. The entire auction venue was in chaos. The Myriad Realm auction had already collapsed due to the attacks of the Dao integration experts. The surrounding restrictions exploded one after another, and none of the buildings near the Myriad Realm auction survived. Everyone in the auction venue fled one after another. No one was willing to stay. Ning Cheng didn't stay either. His spiritual force scanned the 4 people who were fighting. A man wrapped in water vapor was besieged by 3 other Dao integration experts. Even though the 3 Dao integration experts of the Myriad Realm auction had the upper hand, the man with thick water vapor did not seem to be going all out. Sure enough, as soon as Ning Cheng scanned this area, the man with water vapor once again took out a talisman that escaped from the surrounding crisscrossing Dao runes and disappeared. Ning Cheng didn't care about this matter anymore, as it had nothing to do with him. He returned to the inn as fast as he could. Ning Cheng believed that even if the man with water vapor escaped, he probably wouldn't be able to escape from heavens beyond immediately. Ning Cheng had seen the defense array of heaven and earth's beyond before. They were extremely powerful. Ordinary talismans really couldn't be torn apart. "Senior, you're back." The old man had already returned to the Western Domain Spatial Inn and restored his original appearance. When he saw Ning Cheng return, he immediately handed a ring to Ning Cheng. "Inside are the things you want, Senior." Ning Cheng also removed his disguise, took out a jade bottle, and placed it in the old man's hand. "Well done. This is a drop of quintessential essence of the universe. As for how much you can recover, it depends on your own ability." The old man excitedly held the jade bottle and secretly rejoiced that he had followed Senior Ning on the right path. Without the quintessential essence of the universe, it would have been difficult for him to recover to the early-stage Dao integration realm without a few thousand years. That was if he could find top-notch heaven-earth treasures. Previously, Ning Cheng had let Chasing Bull and Mu Yueping enter the quintessential world just in case. Now that there was another possibility, he simply called them out again. "Big Brother Ning, have we left heavens beyond?" Mu Yueping asked as soon as she came out. However, she quickly understood and asked in confusion, "Is this still the Western Domain's spatial inn?" Ning Qing nodded and said, "I'm afraid we'll have to stay in Heavens Beyond for a while. Junior sister Yueping, go and cultivate. I just obtained the soul-gathering immortal lotus, so I'm going to help Brother Jiang reshape his body now." Ning Qing had originally planned to leave Heavens Beyond immediately after bidding for the item. However, it was almost impossible for him to leave Heavens Beyond safely now that something had happened to the Myriad Realm auction. If he wanted to leave Heavens Beyond by force, he would only be in conflict with the Myriad Realm auction. "Yes, Big Brother Ning." Mu Yueping's eyes were slightly red. At that moment, she felt that Brother Man had made the right decision. Big Brother Ning valued friendship and righteousness. Ever since he had found out about Brother Man's accident, he had been helping and had not disappointed her and Brother Man. It would be completely superfluous to thank him for such kindness. The old man grabbed the jade bottle and wished he could immediately enter seclusion to restore his strength. However, Mu Yueping was speaking, so he could not interrupt her. Now that Mu Yueping had finished speaking, he was about to say goodbye to Ning Qing and enter seclusion when the restriction at the door was triggered. Chasing Bull, which had become a lot more well-behaved recently, hurriedly opened the restriction. It had made up its mind to become more active and diligent while constantly improving its cultivation level. Sister Yueping had told it all this, so it had to listen. 3 men stood at the door, and the one in front was a young man. The young man's eyes were a little erratic, with a trace of disdain in them. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, showing a kind of pride. In fact, this young man's cultivation was only at the early stage eternal realm. In Ning Cheng's eyes, he was almost no different from an ant. Ning Cheng had seen this young man before. He was in booth 10 at the auction house. Previously, because the old man had bid against him, he had pushed open the booth in anger. However, the auction house's people had stopped him. With the Myriad Realm auction house's patience with him, Ning Cheng understood that this fellow's background was not small. Behind the young man was a sword-like man with middle-stage primordial chaos cultivation. Standing here, he looked like a peerless spirit sword, with a strong sword intent and Dao charm. Ning Cheng secretly praised this man in his heart. This man was definitely an upright and selfless person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have such a vast and sharp sword aura. Behind these 2 people, there was a young man with delicate features. "Were you in booth 8 before?" The young man's gaze fell on Ning Cheng and spoke with a hint of coldness. Ning Cheng frowned slightly. He was also a primordial chaos expert. This young man was a starry sky cultivator in the eternal realm, yet he spoke in such a condescending tone. Compared to this young man, Mao Yi, whom he had killed before, was an honest fellow. When the old man heard that this young man dared to be rude to Ning Cheng, his eyes immediately lit up with murderous intent. If it weren't for fear of causing trouble for Ning Cheng, he would have already slapped this ant to death. Chasing Bull had been checking its master's face. Seeing Ning Cheng frown, Chasing Bull immediately raised its hoof. "Where did this hairless little thing come from? Get the hell out of here for this Grandpa Bull. This is not a place for you to act wildly. A caterpillar without even a Dao dares to fart." The young man became angry. A beast dared to be rude to him? With a wave of his hand, a thick purple blade appeared in his hand. Ning Cheng's face turned cold when he saw that the other party dared to use a weapon in his place. Chapter 12:24. Stop. Before the young man could attack Chasing Bull, the sword-like man standing behind the young man grabbed the young man's purple saber. "Uncle Luo, a beast dared to be rude to me. Why don't you kill him?" The young man looked angry. The man called Uncle Luo moved his hand slightly and pulled the young man to the back. Then he cupped his fists and said to Ning Cheng, "Taoist, I'm Luo Qinghe. I'm quite famous in Heavens Beyond." Ning Cheng knew why Luo Qinghe had come. If Luo Qinghe had come alone, he would have been interested in answering a few questions. However, Luo Qinghe was obviously the helper of this fool who thought that he was the master of the universe. Ning Cheng had no interest in answering and said to the old fogey, "You answer him." Luo Qinghe was not surprised by Ning Cheng's words. Although he thought that Ning Cheng had come from booth 8, the old fogey was slightly older and had a slightly stronger cultivation level. Therefore, the old fogey should be the leader. Seeing Luo Qinghe look over, the old fogey sneered, "I know you're famous. Otherwise, how could you occupy booth 10? However, we don't welcome you here. Please leave." How could the old fogey not know what Luo Qinghe and the others were here for? They were definitely here for the soul-gathering immortal lotus. Senior Ning Cheng had given the soul-gathering immortal lotus to Jiang Man to sculpt his body, so it was impossible for him to give it to others. Senior Luo Qinghe had asked him to answer and refuse. "Taoist friend, please wait. I'm indeed here for the soul-gathering immortal lotus. This immortal lotus is very important to us. Taoist friend, please name a price. As long as it's not too outrageous, we can come up with it." Luo Qinghe tried to speak in a slow tone. Upon hearing that the other party was here for the soul-gathering immortal lotus, Mu Yueping's eyes suddenly turned hostile and even contained a hint of anger. The soul-gathering immortal lotus was for Jiang Man to sculpt his body, so how could he give it away? "Sorry, the soul-gathering immortal lotus is also very useful to us. I don't have time to talk to you now. If you don't leave, I won't be so polite." The old fogey's patience had run out. He was anxious to use the quintessential essence of the universe to advance, so he was not in the mood to talk here. "Uncle Luo, what cultivation level are these people?" The young man clenched his fists and sent a voice transmission. Since when had anyone dared to be so rude to him? Luo Qinghe did not send a voice transmission. Instead, he said faintly, 2 early-stage primordial chaos and 1 Dao birth. He directly ignored Chasing Bull. Luo Qinghe was a mid-stage primordial chaos expert who was about to become a late-stage primordial chaos expert. Furthermore, his sword Dao law was about to form a system, so he did not really care about the 2 early-stage primordial chaos experts. Previously at the Myriad Realms auction, he and the old fart were just not used to bullying the weak. He had already experienced the feeling of being bullied. After all, he was the deputy sect master of a sect with a great reputation in the beyond of heaven and earth. He was indeed a little angry that he was not even allowed to enter when he came to visit a few outsiders. The young man obviously did not have this kind of awareness. After learning that the 2 of them were early-stage primordial chaos experts, the arrogance on his face became even stronger. "You must have just arrived at heaven's beyond. There are some things that you can't do as you please. Take out the soul-gathering immortal lotus and I'll sell it to you at the market price. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences." After saying that, the young man suddenly looked at Mu Yueping and said in an even colder tone, "Do you know why there are so many dual cultivation buildings in the beyond of heaven and earth? It's because too many people don't know how to appreciate favors, and their women go to the dual cultivation buildings. Get lost." Ning Cheng's eyes turned cold, and he was no longer in the mood to listen. If Luo Qinghe had not cultivated the righteous sword Dao and was not someone he admired, he would have slapped the young man to death. When Chasing Bull heard its master's anger, it raised its hooves and said, "Get lost, caterpillar. If you dare to fart here again, I'll trample you to death." "You have a death wish." The young man stepped aside and slashed at Chasing Bull with the purple thick saber in his hand with a purple flare. He was sure that Uncle Luo would help him block anyone who tried to stop him. Ning Cheng was stronger than him, so he could only let Uncle Luo teach him a lesson. Chasing Bull was a beast, yet it dared to ask him to get lost. When had Yi Huangping ever suffered such humiliation? He would kill him first. Ning Cheng did not move. The old fart standing next to Chasing Bull chuckled and slapped him. A horrifying Dao charm aura enveloped the entire space in an instant. The young man's purple thick saber could no longer move forward, and a deathly oppressive aura surged over. The young man's eyes widened in horror, and his mouth opened wide. He could not move at all. Luo Qinghe's eyes turned cold, and he stepped forward to attack the old fart. But just as he took a step forward, he felt an even more powerful Dao charm aura blasting over. The overwhelming heaven and earth laws had completely bound him, a middle-stage primordial chaos cultivator, to the point that he couldn't move at all. Before Luo Qinghe could activate his Dao rune power, a cold voice was heard, If it wasn't for the fact that you could cultivate such a sharp and upright sword chi, I would have slapped you to death today. Get lost. Luo Qinghe felt a horrifying force slamming into his chest, and he instantly flew backwards. Bang! Luo Qinghe slammed into the rest stops restriction and spat out a mouthful of blood. Before he could sit up, another black shadow slammed into him. Uncle Luo, brother. When the young man standing at the back saw the two of them being blasted to the ground at the same time, he rushed forward in panic and helped them up. The young man's face was pale, and he kept vomiting blood as he shouted in panic, "My spiritual sea and purple palace are gone." The old fart's slap had not killed him. Instead, he had directly destroyed his cultivation and made it difficult for him to recover. The old fart had shown mercy because he did not want to cause too much trouble for Ning Cheng. After all, they were still in heavens beyond and the other party had occupied booth number 10, which looked very impressive. According to the old fart standards, this slap would have destroyed the young man's bones. Luo Qinghe wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and a trace of horror flashed in his eyes. He knew that Ning Cheng was right. This was a complete mercy. If he hadn't been merciful, he would have been killed by the other party just now. This was not early-stage primordial chaos. This was definitely an expert who surpassed ordinary Dao integration experts. In the sect, apart from the sect master, no one could be this person's match. Uncle Luo, I want to kill him. I want to kill all these people. The young man, who was almost crazy, was completely incoherent. He had such a great future, where he would be respected wherever he went. However, his cultivation had been destroyed. Until now, he still could not believe it. Luo Qinghe stood up and slapped the young man's face. Then, he said in a cold tone, "I knew that one day, you would cause trouble." After saying that, he cupped his fists before Ning Cheng and said, "Thank you for showing mercy, but I will report what happened today truthfully. I don't know if anyone is looking for you." Ning Cheng said coldly, "This is the first time. If there is a second time, no one will leave my place alive. You guys can get lost." He could show mercy once, but it did not mean that he could show mercy a second time. If the sacred Dao sect dared to come and talk again, they could not blame him for killing them. Luo Qinghe grabbed Yi Huangping, who was still shouting, and was about to leave when he suddenly heard a voice. "Dao friend Ning, I wonder who made you so angry." When Luo Qinghe saw the person, he quickly put a fist on his chest and greeted. Luo Qinghe greets Dao friend Shi and Dao friend Nu. He knew both of them. They were the two top-notch experts of the Myriad Realm auction, Manager Shi and First Protector Nu Hu. What shocked him the most was Shi Lin's attitude towards the young man in front of him. "So it's Dao friend Luo. Nice to meet you." Shi Lin smiled as if he did not see Yi Huangping, who had been destroyed in Luo Qinghe's hands. Ning Cheng cupped his fists and said politely, "So it's Manager Shi." It's a pity that something happened in the Myriad Realm auction today. I wonder what the outcome is? Shi Lin sighed. Sigh, it's a long story. My Myriad Realm auction has a few things to discuss with Dao friend Ning. I wonder if it will delay Dao friend's time? Ning Cheng smiled. Since I have nothing to do, please come in. Luo Qinghe's heart sank. Ning Cheng's origin was indeed extraordinary. If the sect master did not come forward, Huang Ping's revenge would never be avenged in this life. At this moment he could only leave with cupped fists. As for revenge, he would wait for the sect master to return. It was wrong for Huang Ping to be arrogant, but crippling Yi family's Yi Huangping in the heavens beyond was definitely not a trivial matter. Dao friend Ning is really bold to directly cripple Yi family's Yi Huangping. After entering the room, Shi Lin's first words were about the young man who had been crippled by the old fart. Ning Cheng said faintly, "If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If they offend me, let alone cripple them, even if I kill them, that's it." Shi Lin clapped his hands and shouted, "Good, if people don't offend me, I won't offend them. Good, good, good. This is also the reason why I admire Dao friend Ning." After Shi Lin praised him, he pointed to the old man beside him and said to Ning Cheng, "Dao friend Ning, let me introduce you. This is the Myriad Realm Auction's first guardian elder, Nu Hu." Ning Cheng gestured for the old fart and Mu Yueping to go into seclusion. Then, he took out the Heavenly Union Star Dew and filled a cup for Shi Lin and Nu Hu. Then he said, Dao friend Shi and Dao friend Nu who have come to my place despite being so busy. I wonder what advice you have for me? If you need me to help, I will definitely lend you a hand. Shi Lin sighed again. Even if the Khanate Dragon Ball was snatched away, the person who snatched it would not be able to leave the heavens beyond for the time being. I'm not worried about this. What I regret is that Dao friend Ning did not obtain the breath soil. As Shi Lin spoke, he kept looking at Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng also sighed. Dao friend Shi, you can't be blamed for this. Actually, I made a mistake in bidding, and I still regret it until now. During the second call, I bid 100 billion spirit crystals. In the end, I accidentally lost it to 10 billion spirit crystals. Just when I thought that no one would bid higher than me, I heard the third call. Hearing Ning Cheng's words, Shi Lin and Nu Hu looked at each other. Did they really misunderstand Ning Cheng? Previously, when the red light flashed, it was Ning Cheng who made the bid. Did he make a mistake? However, Shi Lin quickly put this thought aside. What was Ning Cheng's cultivation? How could he make a mistake in bidding? That was absolutely impossible. Chapter 12:25. Dao friend Ning, with such a thing happening to the Myriad World Auction, I shouldn't have the time to come here. It's just that my Myriad World Auction suffered losses this time. Besides asking for Dao friend Ning's help, there's no other way. Shi Lin saw that Ning Cheng didn't want to admit it, so he didn't mention it. In any case, he believed that Ning Cheng had 99% of the breath soil. Ning Cheng understood Shi Lin's meaning and spoke up calmly. It's not that I don't want to help Manager Shi, but I can't do anything about it. Nu Hu frowned and spoke up loudly, Dao friend Ning, you know why we came here today. Let's not beat around the bush. Dao friend Ning also knows why the Myriad World Auction's auction was brought forward. Now that the Myriad World Auction has lost the breath soil and the Xiantian Dragon Bead, coupled with the destruction of the Myriad World Auction's building. If we can't build the auction building as soon as possible and take out treasures of the same level, I'm afraid that the reputation of my Myriad World Auction will plummet. Ning Cheng understood the other party's meaning. That is, our auction house took out the breath soil and the Xiantian Dragon Bead because you wanted them. Therefore, you, Ning Cheng, also bear some responsibility for this matter. Ning Cheng spoke up calmly, alas, it's a pity. If we had traded these two things before, this wouldn't have happened. Shi Lin also understood Ning Cheng's meaning. That is, your Myriad World Auction wanted to take advantage of Ning Cheng and put all your hatred on me. You didn't want to exchange the treasures with me in advance. Now that something has happened, you want to ask me for my things again. How could there be such a good thing in this world? It wasn't the first or second day of dealing with Ning Cheng. Shi Lin knew that Ning Cheng was a difficult person to deal with. If it weren't for Feng Huang Mei, the Mao clan would have ended up in dire straits. He cupped his fists and said, Dao friend Ning, my Myriad World Auction will soon rebuild the auction venue. Because of the lack of the breath soil and the Xiantian Dragon Bead, my Myriad World Auction is willing to purchase some of the essence of the universe and some chaos chi from Dao friend Ning. This loss has nothing to do with Dao friend Ning, so if Dao friend Ning takes out your things, my Myriad World Auction will not let Dao friend Ning suffer a loss. Ning Cheng wondered why Shi Lin didn't bring the mysterious yellow chi and primal chaos chi. Most likely, the Myriad World Auction already had the mysterious yellow chi. As for whether he brought the origin or not, it didn't matter. If the 10,000 Realms auction was in good condition, they could still pay attention to it. But now, they had to quickly raise the reputation of the 10,000 Realms auction. As for why he didn't want the chaos chi, it was probably because he was afraid that the price would be too high. Manager Shi, I only have one drop of quintessential essence of the universe. As for the 5-element chaos chi, it shouldn't be much of a problem. Ning Cheng would never take out too much of the quintessential essence of the universe. The quintessential essence of the universe was different from other treasures. It was not only related to one's cultivation level. There were simply too many places where the quintessential essence of the universe could be used. The reason why Ning Cheng was willing to take out a drop of it was that he wanted to thank the Myriad Worlds auction house for providing him with the breath soil. Even if the Myriad Realms auction didn't want to help Ning Cheng when they took out the breath soil, he still felt grateful. One had to know that breathing soil was not cabbage. Sometimes, even if you had an entire planet's God's spiritual vein, you might not be able to buy one. Because of this, Ning Cheng didn't let the Myriad Realms auction bid first. Of course, Shi Lin's attitude was also very sincere. "Thank you, Daoist Ning. Daoist Ning, please state your price." Shi Lin was overjoyed. He knew that Ning Cheng was helping him. If he still wanted to scheme against Ning Cheng at this time, then he could forget about getting anything from Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng didn't state a price. Instead, he took out 2 jade bottles and handed them to Shi Lin. These are the 5-element chaos chi and a drop of quintessential essence of the universe. Shi Lin grabbed the 2 jade bottles excitedly. He hadn't expected that Ning Cheng would give them to him without even stating a price. He wasn't an idiot. After grabbing the jade bottles, he didn't put them away. Instead, he cupped his fists and asked, "Daoist Ning, if you have any requests, just say them. As long as the Myriad Realms auction can do it, we will definitely not refuse." Ning Cheng smiled and said, "I really have 2 things that I need the Myriad Realms auction to help me with. The first thing is to help me enclose a piece of land in heaven and earth's beyond." "Enclose a piece of land?" Shi Lin looked at Ning Cheng in confusion. Ning Cheng nodded. "Yes, I'm about to leave heaven and earth's beyond, but I will definitely come back to develop in the future. Therefore, I have to ask the Infinite World Auction House to help me with this territory. The bigger the territory, the better, the more, the better. If it's not enough, when I come back here again, I will definitely compensate the Myriad Realms auction." After staying in heaven and earth's beyond for some time, Ning Cheng had long understood the importance of heaven and earth's beyond. As long as the Grand Essence Realm wanted to develop and not be controlled by others, it had to have a voice in heaven and earth's beyond. Otherwise, no matter how strong the Grand Essence Realm was, it would be controlled by heaven and earth's beyond one day. Imagine the experts of various planes gaining a foothold in heaven and earth's beyond. With a unified front, it would be difficult for the Grand Essence Realm to intervene in the future. "Daoist Ning, don't worry. Leave this matter to the Myriad Realms auction." After hearing Ning Cheng's words, Shi Lin put away the jade bottle and said very cautiously. He did not promise Ning Cheng how much land he would enclose. After all, in heaven and earth's beyond, every inch of land was worth a lot of gold. If he promised too much land, he would have to spend countless divine crystals. Shi Lin suddenly thought of something. After Ning Cheng entered the Mao family, he did not destroy the Mao family. Could it be that he was waiting to destroy the Mao family in the future and then learn from that person and take the Mao family's land for himself? Thinking of this, Shi Lin subconsciously glanced at Ning Cheng. If Ning Cheng really thought this way, it would be too terrifying. This was simply killing 2 birds with 1 stone. How scheming did one need to be to achieve such a feat? First, the land belonged to the Mao family, and no one could take it away. Before Ning Cheng came next time, the Mao family would definitely help him preserve the land. Second, he had given face to Heaven's Beyond's heavenly master Feng Huangmin. When he came to heaven and earth's beyond in the future, it would be easier to talk to him. Third, he had taken a lot of divine crystals from the Mao family. Fourth, he had used the divine crystals taken from the Mao family to buy the breathing soil from the Myriad World auction. Moreover, he did not have to expose the quintessential essence of the universe and the chaos chi on the spot. Thinking of this, Shi Lin broke out in a cold sweat. Ning Cheng was too scheming. He could only befriend such a person. Once he offended him, he was afraid that the Myriad World auction would become the next Lu family. If Ning Cheng knew what Shi Lin was thinking, he would really be speechless. He did have some plans, but they were not as perfect as Shi Lin said. "Daoist Ning, the Mao family is not that simple. The Mao family also has a patriarch called Mao Tianqi, who is a creation realm expert." Shi Lin saw that Ning Cheng was generous, so he simply gave Ning Cheng some advice. Sometimes, schemes were simply useless in the face of strength. "I know. Didn't they say that the patriarch of the Mao family went out and would only return after 100 years? Ning Cheng replied. After he returned this time, he planned to use the mysterious very ancient clan's growth rings to continue cultivating in seclusion. He had offended too many people in heavens beyond, so he had to work hard to improve his strength. 100 years in the depths of the growth rings was equivalent to cultivating for 10,000 years. He did not believe that he had the mysterious yellow bead, countless treasures, and the supreme Tao runes of the growth rings. He would not be able to cultivate to the Tao integration realm in 10,000 years. Given his previous cultivation speed, it would not be a problem for him to advance to the perfected Tao integration realm. He had already thought of these ideas when he had gone to the Mao family. When he had been at the perfected Tao transformation realm, he could easily challenge the primordial Tao realm. Once he reached the perfected Tao integration realm, he did not believe that he could not deal with a creation realm expert. If he had been a little worried before, after seeing Feng Huangmei, Ning Cheng became more confident. Do you know why no experts from the Min family came to find you after you taught a lesson to them? Shi Lin saw that Ning Cheng did not realize the seriousness of the matter, so he added another sentence. Nu Hu coughed on the side, apparently feeling that Shi Lin had said too much. These words were not what the Myriad World auction should say. Shi Lin smiled slightly as if he had not heard Nu Hu's cough. His strength was similar to Nu Hu's, but he was the manager, while Nu Hu was not. The main reason was that he was good at reading people. Ning Cheng could not be a simple primordial chaos sacred emperor, so his future achievements would be very high. Befriending Ning Cheng now was much more valuable than befriending him in the future. Now that he could gain Ning Cheng's favor by saying a few words, why not? Ning Cheng took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, could it be that the Min family also has a creation realm expert who is not in heavens beyond? Shi Lin gave Ning Cheng a look of affirmation. That's right. Not only the experts from the Min family and the Mao family, but even the experts from the Myriad World auction are not in heavens beyond for the time being. Otherwise, how could the fish from the Dragon clan snatch the Khanate Dragon Pearl at the auction venue? They all went to the same place, but I'm not sure what they did. I'm sure that once they return, their strength will definitely go to another level. Then why didn't the heavens beyond's Lord Feng Huangmei go? Ning Cheng asked doubtfully. Shi Lin did not answer Ning Cheng's question and only shook his head. Ning Cheng did not ask again. Since Shi Lin did not say anything, there must be a reason. However, Ning Cheng had learned from Shi Lin that the expert who snatched the Khanate Dragon Pearl was from the Dragon clan. No wonder he used the water pattern Tao rune divine power as soon as he made his move. I have another thing to ask of Manager Shi. I want to look for stabilizing soil and heng ran. The Myriad Realm auction is the largest auction house in the beyond of heaven and earth. If you have these two items, please leave them for me. When I come to the beyond of heaven and earth again, I'll be very grateful. After saying that, Ning Cheng even stood up and cupped his fists to bow. Taoist Ning wants to restore the broken world? Shi Lin stood up in shock when he heard Ning Cheng's words. Ning Cheng had obtained the breathing soil and was now asking for stabilizing soil and heng ran. What else could it be if not to restore the broken world? Ning Cheng sighed. I'm just thinking about this. I don't know if I can restore the broken world that I live in my lifetime, but I'll try my best. Shi Lin bowed to Ning Cheng with a solemn expression and said with a hint of respect, Taoist Ning, regardless of whether you can restore it or not, I respect your great wisdom and hard work. Chapter 12:26. Even Nu Hu was moved by Ning Cheng's thoughts. Few starry sky Tao cultivators had the same thoughts as Ning Cheng. The universe was vast. If one plane broke, one could just go to another plane. No one would put their energy into repairing a world, as it would be a waste of life and energy. Ning Cheng had spent so much to bid for the breath soil, and this was under the circumstances where he had gained the upper hand. It was clear how difficult it was to repair a world and gather all the other treasures. Besides, even if one could gather all the treasures, who would be willing to take them out or be willing to use them to repair a world? Because of this, Shi Lin and Nu Hu were shocked by Ning Cheng's selflessness. Taoist Ning, you injured sacred Tao sect's Luo Qinghe. I'm afraid things won't end like this. You have to be careful. Nu Hu reminded Ning Cheng for the first time. Shi Lin nodded. Yes, Sacred Dao sect master destroyed the Lu family. Sacred Dao sect master was amazing. He only had primordial chaos cultivation, but he could easily kill a Dao integration cultivator. Even the Lu family's family head, Lu Qianhe, who was at the creation realm, didn't come back when he fought with that sect master. I'm afraid he was in trouble. Primordial chaos cultivation? Ning Cheng asked in surprise. He himself was at the primordial chaos realm. He could also kill a Dao integration expert, but what did he cultivate? The mysterious yellow formless was a creation cultivation technique derived from the creation mysterious yellow bead. Could it be that there was another person like him who also cultivated the creation technique? Could he kill a Dao integration expert at the primordial chaos realm? Could he even kill a creation realm expert? Ning Cheng sucked in a breath of cold air. This was the first time he had heard of such a terrifying primordial chaos sacred emperor. Back when he was at the Mao family, if Feng Huangmei wanted to deal with him, he could only escape. This showed that the primordial chaos sacred emperor mentioned by Shi Lin was stronger than him. They were both primordial chaos sacred emperors, but they were stronger than him. This made Ning Cheng immediately vigilant. When that person destroyed the Lu family, was he early-stage primordial chaos or late-stage primordial chaos? Ning Cheng sucked in a breath of cold air and asked in a solemn tone. Shi Lin also answered very seriously, neither. I heard the ancestor of the Myriad Realm auction say that he was at the peak of mid-stage primordial chaos and was about to reach the late-stage primordial chaos. Ning Cheng breathed a sigh of relief. He had just attained the primordial chaos advancement and was considered an early-stage primordial chaos. In addition to injuring Luo Qinghe, I also crippled an idiot. Ning Cheng spoke with an indifferent tone. That young man was crippled by the old fart, but this debt would definitely be placed on his head, so he was not afraid at all. Shi Lin sneered, that Yi Huangping only sees himself as a nobody. In fact, if it wasn't for giving Luo Qinghe face, when he dared to rush out of the auction box to question you, my Myriad Realms auction would have thrown him out. Even if the Sacred Dao sect master came, he wouldn't say that the Infinite Domain auction did anything wrong. Ning Cheng nodded and did not care about Shi Lin's words. He reckoned that Yi Huangping was just a junior with some status in the Sacred Dao sect, so he wouldn't take this matter to heart. The Sacred Dao sect master is very powerful? Directly destroy the Lu clan, and then occupy the Lu clan's territory? Ning Cheng asked again. If there was such a powerful person in heavens beyond, the old fart had just crippled the Yi Huangping guy not long ago, so the other party would probably find an excuse to come. He recalled what Luo Qinghe had said before leaving. It seemed that he really had to be on guard. Shi Lin shook his head. That's not it. The Lu clan was courting death. The Sacred Dao sect master opened a MOU elixir dispensary in heavens beyond that specialized in pill business. The MOU elixir dispensary's pills were indeed very good and cheap. This squeezed the Lu clan's business because the Lu clan's main business in heavens beyond was pills. The Lu clan purposely sent people to the MOU elixir dispensary to cause trouble, saying that there was a problem with the pills they bought, causing people to suffer from qi deviation. The MOU elixir dispensary's people came out to explain that the pills they brought weren't from the MOU elixir dispensary. In the end, the Lu clan came out and razed the elixir dispensary to the ground. They killed all the pill masters and all the employees in the elixir dispensary. One of them was the personal disciple of the Sacred Dao sect master. So ruthless. Ning Cheng sighed. This wasn't the end. In order to deter outsiders from opening an elixir dispensary, the Lu clan hung the heads of all the employees in the MOU elixir dispensary's ruins as a warning, Shi Lin sighed. The Sacred Dao sect master returned to heavens beyond at this time. When he saw the tragic state of the MOU elixir dispensary, he immediately sealed the entire heavens beyond. Heaven Lord Feng Yellowbrowed had a conflict with him because of this, but he didn't seem to gain any advantage. Feng Yellowbrowed also knew that the Lu clan had gone overboard this time, so he didn't really make a move and silently allowed the sect master to seal heavens beyond. The second thing the sect master did was seal the entire Lu clan. The Lu family had been peaceful the entire day he had been there. A day later, he and the Lu clan's ancestor fought their way out of the Lu clan and broke countless restrictions of heavens beyond into the void. A few days later, no one could break the Lu clan's restriction. Heaven Lord Feng Yellowbrowed went to the Lu clan to have a look. No one was left alive in the Lu clan. They were all killed, and the entire residence was in ruins. In order to stabilize heavens beyond, Heaven Lord Feng didn't allow anyone to get close to the Lu clan. As expected, the sect master returned a few days later, but there was no news of Lu Qianhe. Later, the major forces of heavens beyond invited the sect master to a banquet. At the same time, they gave all the Lu clan's territory to this new expert. Ning Cheng slammed the table. Good job. If it were me, I would also annihilate the Lu clan. He was slightly puzzled as to why Heavens Beyond did not want any of the Lu clan's territory and gave it all to an outsider. Was the sect master really so powerful that he could wipe out the entire Heavens Beyond? Daoist Ning, the Myriad Realm auction is very busy now. Elder Nu and I won't disturb you anymore. Shi Lin got up and left. Ning Qing knew that Shi Lin wanted to befriend him, so he didn't reject it. In the future, when he came to Heavens Beyond, he would need Shi Lin's help in many areas. It wasn't a bad thing for him to be friends with the Myriad Realm auction. After sending Shi Lin and Nu Hu away, Ning Cheng put up a restriction in the room and left a message outside the restriction. He was going to sculpt Jiang Man's body. MOU Elixir Dispensary was one of the most famous elixir dispensaries in the entire Heavens Beyond. The elixir pills here were not only complete but not expensive, but their effects were also better than similar elixir pills. Because MOU Elixir Dispensary was so famous, almost everyone who came to Heavens Beyond would go to MOU Elixir Dispensary to buy some elixir pills. MOU Elixir Dispensary was getting bigger and bigger. Its reputation in Heavens Beyond was no less than that of the Myriad Realm auction. At the moment, more than 10 people were discussing something in the top floor of MOU Elixir Dispensary. A young woman in a blue dress was sitting in the middle. If Ning Cheng was here, he would definitely recognize this woman as the woman with the surname Yi, whom he had saved a few times. Tian Muan was next to her. I'm going back to the sacred Tao world to comprehend primordial chaos. I'll leave this place to Brother Luo. In Heavens Beyond, the reason MOU Elixir Dispensary can exist isn't because of how many powerful people we have but because of how good our elixir pills are. Our MOU Elixir Dispensary and even Divine Tao Sect's powerful people are really nothing compared to Heavens Beyond. We can even be said to be the weakest. So, I hope that no matter what happens, we can endure a little. Of course, I believe that no one will bully our MOU Elixir Dispensary for no reason. The woman in blue dress said. After all these years of wandering in the void, she was no longer that ignorant young girl. The Myriad Realm auction was so powerful, but wasn't it because people robbed things at the auction? We're fine, but Deacon Huang Ping. A slightly hesitant voice sounded, but it didn't finish its sentence in the end. The girl in blue dress nodded. Ji Lei Qian Bei, don't worry, I will take him away this time. As for this deacon, I will get rid of him. Auntie, help me take revenge. Just as the girl in the blue dress finished speaking, a mournful cry rang out. Everyone looked at the door. The person who could sneak in without anyone noticing must be Luo Qinghe. Indeed, it was Luo Qinghe standing at the door. There was a youth behind Luo Qinghe who was carrying a young man. Brother Qinghe, what's going on? The woman's face changed. How could she not see that Yi Huangping's cultivation level was crippled, completely crippled? The strongest person in MOU Pill Dispensary in Heavens Beyond was Luo Qinghe. Luo Qinghe got along well with her brother and they got along well. Plus, he was grateful and respected her father, so he lowered his status and became brothers with her brother. Even Brother Qinghe couldn't protect Huangping. It seemed he caused quite some trouble this time. Tian Mu Wan's gaze swept over the paralyzed Yi Huangping, revealing a trace of relief. Ever since she came to MOU Pill Dispensary, she felt this person was a rat shit. Yi Huangping used the excuse of giving pills to pester her many times. If it wasn't that Sister Mo was too kind to her and her cultivation level was too low, she would have left long ago. The youth behind Luo Qinghe bowed respectfully and retreated to the side. Luo Qinghe said with guilt, "It's my cultivation level that wasn't good enough to protect Huangping. I'm sorry, Brother Bao. Bei Wang will tell you the details." The blue-robed woman ignored the crippled youth and said to the youth, "Bei Wang, tell me everything from the beginning to the end without missing a single detail." The youth's tone was even more respectful and he told her everything word by word. He didn't even hide how the youth opened the door and yelled at room 8. The woman's face looked bad as she listened. When she heard Yi Huangping threaten to send someone else's Dao partner to the dual cultivation building, she was extremely furious. After the youth finished, she stared coldly at Yi Huangping. "I'm wondering why other people didn't kill you and let you live? Even if the Yi family is the strongest in heavens beyond, you deserve to be killed for your arrogant behavior, let alone the fact that the Yi family can't do whatever they want in heavens beyond." Chapter 12:27. Hearing this, Yi Huangping's face changed drastically. He knew his auntie's status in the Yi family. Even his dad had to listen to auntie. Now that his auntie said this, his world dimmed down. "Brother Qinghe, take me to see this powerful being." The blue-robed woman got up. Then she scanned Yi Huangping on the ground. "As for him, I will bring him to Mou Immortal Sect in the Immortal Realm. Let him live there in the future." Luo Qinghe immediately agreed. No matter who Yi Huangping was, Mou Pill Tower or Divine Dao Sect had to ask about him. "Muan, come with me." The blue-robed woman called Tian Muan. After the three walked out of Mou Pill Tower, the blue-robed woman said apologetically to Tian Muan, "Sorry, Muan. I also know that Yi Huangping was rude to you. I thought we were going to leave soon and I couldn't be bothered to argue with him. He only has himself to blame for being crippled this time." Tian Muan quickly said, "If it wasn't for sisters saving me many times, I would have been dead already. We don't need to talk about this." The blue-robed woman shook her head. "I always thought the Divine Dao Sect was invincible in the world and my father was #1 in the universe. After I walked out, I realized that there were too many things we didn't know about this world. When I returned to heavens beyond heaven, I realized that my father hadn't even reached the 3rd step. No matter how strong you are, there will always be someone stronger. This phrase is always true. And Muan, although I saved you, it was the same as helping myself. If it wasn't for you, I would have died many times." Tian Muan was silent. She understood elder sister Mo's words. That is, the reason why Ning Qing had saved them several times was because of her face. At this moment, she suddenly felt lonely and melancholy. So what if she cultivated to an endless lifespan? It would be better to go to a tiny restaurant with Ning Qing and have a good meal, and then happily walk around the campus. There's always someone better than you. She also understood this a bit late. Initially, she had thought that she could become a true cultivator. Knowing that she had misunderstood Ning Qing in the past, she had never thought of apologizing to Ning Qing. She even felt that there was a difference between immortals and mortals, and that she and Ning Qing were no longer in the same world. Later, she realized how ridiculous it was. She was very clear as to why Ning Qing treated her this way. Moreover, she also understood Ning Qing's temperament. Even if she felt sorry for Ning Qing, even if she caused trouble for Ning Qing would never treat her like this. The real thing that Ning Qing had taken away from her heart was that hair clip. She could throw away the pearl hair clip, but she should not have put Ning Qing's pearl hair clip in the hands of another man, and then borrowed another man's hand to throw it away. Tian Muan subconsciously touched the pearl hair clip on her chest. Her heart felt even more lonely. If she could, she would rather return to the moment before Ning Qing gave her the pearl hair clip. All these years, she had traveled to many realms and experienced countless heaven realms. She had truly seen that there was always someone stronger than her. But these were really not what she wanted. Her lifespan grew longer and longer, and her strength grew stronger and stronger. However, she spoke less and less, and her life grew lonelier and lonelier. Only when she went into secluded cultivation could she forget all of it. Seeing Tian Muan silent, the blue-robed woman did not disturb her contemplation. Instead, she looked at Luo Qinghe and asked, "Was that person arrogant?" Luo Qinghe hesitated for a moment before speaking. At the auction, because of Huang Ping's rudeness, he provoked Huang Ping with a sentence. He wasn't arrogant the rest of the time. I felt that he was a bit like Sect Master, with an indescribable aura and Dao charm. If Huang Ping hadn't taken the initiative to provoke him, I don't think he would have provoked us. There was another sentence that Luo Qinghe didn't say. That is, Ning Qing spared him once. An arrogant person, Ning Qing most likely would have killed him directly. He didn't let Bei Wang say anything about it, nor did he say anything about it. After an incense stick worth of time, the three people walked into the Western Domain Space rest stop. The inn's waiter quickly stopped the three people. 3 Dao friends, if you are looking for room A9, please come back after a while. The waiter knew Luo Qinghe because Luo Qinghe had come here once. Initially, he didn't pay attention to room A9, but after the Myriad Domain Auctions manager and the first protector arrived, the inn's shopkeeper came over. Moreover, he also received a message from the owner of room A9 that no one should disturb him during his seclusion. If anyone disturbed him, they would kill him without mercy. How could the Western Domain Space rest stop offend someone who knew Shilin's manager? Therefore, the shopkeeper wished that he could stand guard at the door of room A9. Now that he wasn't in the rest stop, he naturally warned the inn's waiter again and again. Why? Luo Qinghe asked with a frown. The waiter knew that these people definitely weren't simple, so he quickly bowed and said, "Seniors, please don't make things difficult for this junior. This junior is just a waiter. The guest in room A9 is at a critical juncture of his seclusion. Moreover, before he went into seclusion, the guest in room A9 said that anyone who disturbed him at this time would become his mortal enemy." Luo Qinghe frowned and was about to speak when the blue-robed woman pulled him back. "In that case, let's leave it at that. I will return to the Sacred Dao sect first and visit them again next time." She urgently needed to gain insights into the primordial chaos realm. For her, it would be better to return to the Sacred Dao sect to gain insights into this realm. At this moment, Ning Qing indeed wouldn't come out even if anyone disturbed him. He had already taken out the soul-gathering immortal lotus and placed it aside. The room's spirit-gathering array was filled with divine essence pills. He had obtained these divine essence pills from the primordial chaos sacred emperors who had robbed him. They were just right for Jiang Man's body. Jiang Man's essence spirit was still hunched over in the crystal ball. Even though Ning Qing had used the pill mist, Jiang Man's essence spirit in the crystal ball still twitched. Ning Qing patted the soul-gathering immortal lotus next to him, and the soul-gathering immortal lotus turned into a cyan mist in front of him. As the cyan mist grew thicker, Ning Qing patted the crystal ball again. Jiang Man's essence spirit in the crystal instantly fused with the cyan mist, and the aura of Dao charm lingered within it. As the divine essence pills continued to be absorbed and consumed, the soul-gathering immortal lotus and Jiang Man's essence spirit gradually condensed. Ning Qing kept forming hand seals, and at the same time, he also fused several streams of 5-element chaos qi. 10 days later, Ning Qing still kept grabbing spirit crystals and sending them into the spirit-gathering array. Jiang Man's body finally condensed completely. Ning Qing grabbed a starry sky cultivator's robe and threw it over. Jiang Man happened to open his eyes at the same time. After a brief moment of confusion, Jiang Man immediately recognized Ning Qing. "Brother Ning." Ning Qing shouted, "Hurry up and stabilize your cultivation. I'll help you." Jiang Man's body had recovered, but his cultivation had fallen to the early-stage Dao sculpting level. Ning Qing had used the soul-gathering immortal lotus and 5-element chaos qi, along with the divine essence pills and a pile of spirit crystals. If it were anyone else, their cultivation would have fallen to almost nothing if they tried to restore their body. Jiang Man instantly understood that the Mao clan had taken him away. Ning Qing must have rescued him from the Mao clan and helped him rebuild his body. He, Jiang Man, did not recognize the wrong person. Even though he missed Mu Yueping very much, Jiang Man still quickly sat down and closed his eyes. He used the soul-gathering immortal lotus and the 5-elemental chaos qi to stabilize his body and raise his cultivation. Ning Qing raised his hand and took out a drop of true essence of the universe and flicked it onto Jiang Man's body. Jiang Man immediately felt the endless Dao charm aura and pure spirit qi rushing over. He didn't even need to absorb it. He just needed to follow this Dao charm aura to restore his strength. What kind of treasure was this? Jiang Man felt shocked. He knew very well that this was definitely a supreme treasure. It wasn't like he had never seen an essence spirit restore a body. No matter what kind of essence spirit restored a body, its cultivation would drop drastically and its aptitude would also decline. Not only did his aptitude not decline, but it even showed signs of increasing. At this moment, his cultivation had also risen sharply. Even a fool could tell that Ning Qing had put in a lot of effort for him. Bang! Just when Jiang Man was about to restore his cultivation, a shadow suddenly cut through the void and landed in Ning Cheng's room. Ning Cheng felt horrified. If it were anything else, it wouldn't have mattered. But now, someone had silently broken through his array formation restrictions and landed in his room. This was simply terrifying. Almost at the same time as the black shadow fell, Ning Cheng's good fortune divine spear wrapped up the shadow with thousands of spear patterns filled with killing intent. "This Dao friend, please stop and listen to me," the shadow suddenly called out with a hoarse voice. However, it didn't resist Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng stopped in time with the frozen space and pointed the good fortune divine spear at the person's glabella. If this shadow dared to resist, he would freeze this person and kill him without hesitation. "Thank you." Seeing that Ning Cheng didn't continue and just pointed the spear at his glabella, the person felt relieved and thanked him. Even though the good fortune divine spear's killing intent penetrated his glabella and made him feel uncomfortable, he still didn't move. Only then did Ning Cheng see the person's appearance. He wore a gray starry sky cultivator's robe and had a mask covering his entire face. Only his eyes were exposed. The Dao charm on his body was scattered, and his clothes were tattered. There were even some dried bloodstains on the outside of his clothes. This person was seriously injured. Ning Cheng recognized him at a glance. This person was the person who had the guts to snatch the innate Dragon Ball at the Myriad Realm auction. Ning Cheng guessed that this person couldn't escape from heavens beyond, and it seemed that this was indeed the case. It seemed that this person was able to break his array restriction not because of any spiritual ability or array Dao, but through some kind of top-notch restriction-breaking talisman. Nevertheless, Ning Cheng still felt a little depressed. His array formation was broken by the talisman, which meant that the person who made the talisman was stronger than him. "You should have recognized me. My name is Ao Kan, the person who snatched the innate Dragon Ball at the auction. Even if I wasn't injured, I wouldn't be your opponent." The man panted and said honestly. He had also seen Ning Cheng's attack. Ning Cheng put away the good fortune divine spear. With Ao Kan's seriously injured strength, he wouldn't be afraid even if he suddenly attacked him. What puzzled him was how this person recognized him. After all, he had changed his appearance at the auction. "Tell me, why did you come here? If you can't tell me 3, 2, 1, I will take away your innate Dragon Ball and kill you," Ning Cheng said in a cold tone. He didn't believe that Ao Kan had come to him by accident. If Jiang Man's body sculpting wasn't about to be completed, Ao Kan's disturbance would have put Jiang Man in danger. Chapter 12:28. Ao Kan sighed slowly. As long as Ning Cheng listened to him, it would be fine. "I'll tell you how I found you first. I'm actually a descendant of the Dragon Clan, so I'm extremely sensitive to water-attributed spirit techniques. Moreover, during the auction, my water pattern spirit technique spread over a radius of dozens of miles. When you used that space-sealing spirit technique at the auction, I caught a trace of water-attributed Dao charm aura." Ning Cheng understood and asked, "So, did you come here because you sensed my Dao charm aura while I was helping my friend shape his body?" Ao Kan nodded. "Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't know that you were shaping your friend's body. Fortunately, you finished shaping your body, and I didn't affect it. In fact, if I had a choice, I wouldn't have bothered Dao friend." Ning Cheng waved his hand. "You can go. I'll pretend I never saw you. I just became friends with manager Shi Lin of the Myriad World Auction. I'm sorry, but I can't help you. Besides, I can't help you with my strength. It would be a lie if he couldn't help. Since Aoken came here, Ning Cheng could still help him if he wanted. Ning Cheng didn't want to help. He and Shilin weren't friends, but he had just entrusted Shilin with a few things. In any case, he wouldn't help Aoken. It was already good enough that he didn't take advantage of Aoken. Aoken didn't feel disappointed. Instead, he said in a deep voice, "It looks like I didn't find the wrong person. At least you didn't take advantage of the situation. Listen to what I have to say and what I can offer. If you don't want to help me after I'm done, then I'll leave immediately." "Brother Ning, I succeeded. Thank you." Jiang Man, who had restored his body, stood up and cried out in surprise. Feeling Jiang Man's peak Dao birth cultivation, Ning Cheng smiled in satisfaction. "We're friends. What's there to thank? Muyue is in the opposite room. Go and see her. I have some things to take care of here. By the way, take these jade strips and cultivate." After that, Ning Cheng took out 4 jade strips and handed them to Jiang Man. These 4 jade strips contained all the branches of the karma spirit technique. As for how far Jiang Man could go, he could only rely on himself. "All right." Jiang Man grabbed the jade slip and didn't say anything else. He knew that Aoken had entered. After Jiang Man left, Aoken said, "I'm actually from the 5-clawed divine dragon. I don't know if you've heard of the 10 major dragon clans, but the 5-clawed divine dragon is the noblest among them." 5-clawed divine dragon? Ning Cheng had indeed heard of this race before. He had an innate dragon pearl on him, which he found in the Grand Essence Sea's dragon washing pool. "Sit down and talk, I'm listening." Hearing the words 5-clawed divine dragon, Ning Cheng immediately became interested. Aoken walked to the side and sat down. He took off the mask on his face, revealing a chiseled and resolute face. The 5-clawed divine dragon is the #1 dragon clan. They have branches in all the major planes. I'm a direct descendant of the 5-clawed divine dragon clan. Unfortunately, I'm a cripple of the dragon clan. I was born with only 4 claws. Ning Cheng could see the loss and humiliation in Aoken's eyes. From the looks of it, he had suffered a lot of grievances in the 5-clawed divine dragon clan. "Because I'm not 5 claws, I was named Aoken, and I was humiliated. Finally, because of a conflict over cultivation resources, I was expelled from the dragon clan. My mother worried that I would be plotted against by my fellow clansmen, so she secretly left the dragon clan to take care of me." Aoken's words were simple, but Ning Cheng could hear the bitterness in them. From the looks of it, there wasn't much difference between the dragon clan and the human clan. "So you want to snatch the innate dragon pearl and then build a new territory for yourself?" Ning Cheng asked. The reason why Ning Cheng asked this was because he knew that if the innate dragon pearl that Aoken snatched could be used to build a place similar to the dragon washing pool, he could indeed build a new territory. Aoken clenched his fists, and a trace of hatred flashed in his eyes. "I'm not trying to snatch the innate dragon pearl. It's because this dragon pearl was originally mine. It belonged to my mother, and she planned to give it to me in the future. However, someone accidentally learned about it. As a result, my mother was killed to save me, and the innate dragon pearl was snatched away. Later, I wandered the void, and my cultivation gradually improved. In the mysterious yellow heavens beyond, I found the dragon pearl that was snatched away, the one from the Myriad World Auction." When Ning Cheng heard this, he felt sympathy for Aoken. This guy was really pitiful. If he had encountered such a thing, he might have snatched it more thoroughly or even not bid at all. Naturally, he couldn't let others take away his mother's things. "Before my mother died, I promised her that I would kill the enemy and find the innate dragon pearl to see her." At this point, Aoken took out a jade box and placed it in front of Ning Cheng. "This is the innate dragon pearl. I only ask that you save me and let me place this innate dragon pearl in front of my mother's grave for 3 days. I'll give this innate dragon pearl to you directly." Aoken's tone was sincere. After saying this, he raised a hand. "I, Aoken, swear." Ning Cheng waved his hand to stop Aoken from swearing. "Forget it. I'm not interested in your innate dragon pearl. I don't want your dragon pearl, so you can keep it yourself. I have a quintessential world. If you enter my quintessential world, I'll take you out of the mysterious yellow heavens beyond. Aoken hadn't expected such a good thing to happen. Did he want him to go to his quintessential world and then destroy it? If not, how could such a person exist in this world where the strong preyed on the weak? However, Aoken quickly put this thought aside. He had already placed the innate dragon pearl in front of Ning Cheng. If Ning Cheng wanted it, he could get it with a raise of his hand. There was no need to do this. Thank you, big brother. As long as I worship my mother, Aoken's life will belong to you in the future. Aoken fell to his knees. His resentment was not that he didn't have 5 claws, but that his mother had died because of him. If he couldn't find his mother's innate dragon pearl, he would live in guilt for the rest of his life. He didn't think that Ning Cheng's cultivation level was lower than his. How could a person with a lower cultivation level kill several primordial chaos experts and then walk away calmly under the siege of dozens of primordial chaos experts? Ning Cheng took out a few healing elixirs and gave them to Aoken. He patted Aoken on the shoulder and said, "My name is Ning Cheng. This is just a piece of cake for me. Don't worry about it. I'm younger than you, so just call me Ning Cheng." Aoken put the elixir pills into his mouth without hesitation and said sternly again, "I'm your big brother and I'll always be your big brother. Although I'm a broken 5-clawed divine dragon, I never break my promise. It's just that there are many experts in heavens beyond. I'm afraid that the quintessential world." Ning Cheng chuckled. "Don't worry. If I can't even take you out, I wouldn't have to look for the live soil here." When he went out, he would send the quintessential world into the mysterious yellow bead. Even if a creation realm expert came, he wouldn't be able to tell that he had taken Aoken away. What's more, given his current strength, even if he didn't send the quintessential world into the mysterious yellow bead, no one would be able to sense Aoken in his quintessential world. "This elixir pill," Aoken suddenly exclaimed in shock. "Is this a healing Dao pill?" Aoken knew the value of this healing Dao pill all too well. Ning Cheng had actually given him this Dao pill to heal him. He really regarded him as a friend. Ning Cheng hadn't thought of it that way. This was just some healing Dao pill that he had refined himself. It was just that Aoken was a sentimental person with a good disposition. In Heavens Beyond, the biggest incident recently was that someone had snatched the Khanate Dragon Pearl from the Myriad Realm auction. Not only had the Khanate Dragon Pearl been taken away, but the Myriad Realm Auctions building had also been destroyed. Now that the Myriad Realm Auctions building had been rebuilt, the person who had snatched the Khanate Dragon Pearl had yet to be caught. In the Myriad Realm Auctions new buildings meeting hall, Shi Lin and several experts looked gloomy. The person who stole the innate dragon ball that they had locked onto all along had suddenly disappeared. Previously, the Myriad Realm auction had been confident about catching the person who had snatched the Khanate Dragon Pearl. However, they were a little worried now. The Myriad Realm auction was powerful in Heavens Beyond, but they couldn't cover the sky with one hand. There were many restrictions in Heavens Beyond. If the person who snatched the Khanate Dragon Pearl was captured by other forces or hid in someone else's territory, where could the Myriad Realm auction find him? The reputation of the Myriad Realm auction has fallen a lot recently. I think we should hold an exhibition of our store's treasures to gather some popularity. Knew who was the one who spoke. He knew very well that although the Myriad Realm auction had lost the breathing soil and the Khanate Dragon Pearl, they had obtained the similarly supreme-grade treasures, the quintessential essence of the universe and the 5-element Chaos Chi. The 5-element Chaos Chi was slightly weaker, but it had all 5 elements. Shi Lin nodded. This was the only way now. He couldn't watch the Myriad Realm auction's reputation continue to fall. If this went on, other forces might take the opportunity to launch an auction and suppress the Myriad Realm auction. Just as Shi Lin was about to speak, he suddenly felt that something was amiss. He immediately rushed out of the meeting hall and floated in the void. When Shi Lin came out, he realized that several experts were already standing in the sky above Heavens Beyond. Dao rune whirlpools were swept over in the sky above the extraterritorial space inn. The law aura of these whirlpools was getting stronger. A terrifying oppressive Dao rune aura came crashing down, and almost the entire Heavens Beyond was under this terrifying oppressive aura. Someone succeeded in Dao integration. How is this possible? Nu Hu landed beside Shi Lin and said in astonishment. He felt that it was impossible because Heavens Beyond was not suitable for Tao integration at all. Even Tao validation and primordial chaos were not suitable here, let alone Tao integration. Shi Lin said in a deep voice, "It's not impossible, but it's an ironclad fact. Not only did this person succeed in Tao integration, but his Tao runes are also powerful and his law is condensed. In terms of strength, I'm afraid he's not weaker than a mid-stage Tao integration expert. He might even be comparable to a late-stage Tao integration expert." Could it be Ningqing? Nu Hu asked doubtfully again. Shi Lin shook his head. That's impossible. Let's not talk about whether Ningqing really has a primordial chaos cultivation level. His strength is definitely not weaker than ours. Furthermore, this Tao integration Tao rune aura is not comparable to Ningqing's. No matter who it is, we should pay a visit to Taoist Ning's residence. Chapter 1229. Not bad. Old geezer, you've recovered to the Tao integration stage. Ningqing let Ao can enter the true spirit world. After coming out, the first thing he saw was the old fogey proudly walking out of the seclusion room. Seeing the old fogey's strength, Ningqing couldn't help but praise him. The old man's Tao runes were dense and much stronger than Mao Tai from the Mao family. As expected, none of these old things were simple. No matter how proud the old man felt, he didn't dare to be rude to Ningqing. He quickly thanked him. If it weren't for Senior's power, this junior wouldn't have recovered to Tao unification so quickly. Brother Ning, big brother Ning. Mu Yueping also came out in time. The sadness on Mu Yueping's face had long disappeared. Even though his eyes were slightly red, his spirit was no longer the same as before. After chatting with Mu Yueping, Jiang Man naturally came to know how much effort Ningqing had put in to save him. More importantly, he understood that Ningqing had given him the complete karma cultivation method. Ningqing understood Jiang Man's gratitude and smiled. Tao friend Shi of the Myriad Circles Commerce Chamber of Commerce is here. As for the cultivation method, you can figure it out yourself. After saying that, Ningqing directly opened the room's restriction. Jiang Man and Mu Yueping also knew that this wasn't the place to talk, so they didn't continue to talk. The restriction covering Ningqing's room had just opened when Shi Lin and Nu Hu walked over. Shi Lin, who was still far away, laughed and cupped his fists before speaking. "Tao friend Ning, I've come to disturb you again. This time, I'm here to congratulate you on your successful Tao integration. It's obvious how powerful your Tao marks are to be able to succeed in Heavens Beyond." Shi Lin had visited Ningqing a few times before. Although Ningqing knew about this old fogey, he did not take it to heart. Now that he had seen the old Qi being successfully fused with his Tao runes, he regretted that he had misjudged him. Even though Shi Lin was a Tao integration stage holy emperor, the old fart really didn't take him seriously. Ningqing quickly spoke up, "This is Tao friend Jiang Zhong. He used to have a nickname called Ping Ding Heavenly Emperor." "So, Senior is Great Emperor Ping Ding." Shi Lin was instantly moved. He had heard of Ping Ding before. Although he wasn't a super strong expert, he was still someone who had left his name behind. Although he was also at the Tao integration realm, it was only right for him to address Ping Ding as senior. The old man chuckled. "I'm getting old. It was only by following behind Senior Ning that I slowly restored a bit of my cultivation." Although he said that, the old fart was inwardly very pleased with himself. Senior Ning? Shi Lin felt even more shocked about Ningqing's origins. Just how terrifying was the person whom Emperor Ping Ding addressed as senior? No wonder Ningqing could easily deal with Tao integration experts with his primordial chaos strength. So he was also the reincarnation of a senior. Fortunately, he did not offend this senior. Ningqing found it funny. He knew that he was not a senior, so he could only say, "Recently, there have been many troubles in the Heavens Beyond. I'll be leaving the Heavens Beyond. The next time I come here, I'll go to the Myriad Realm auction to visit Taoist Shi. Fellow Taoist Shi, you don't have to feel burdened. We'll still call each other fellow Taoist." Not to mention that Shi Lin already regarded Ningqing as a senior. Even if he didn't know that Ningqing was a senior, If Ning Qing wanted to leave, he couldn't stop him. Therefore, he quickly spoke up, Okay, I'll listen to Dao friend Ning. The Myriad Realms auction has just been rebuilt and is preparing to hold a treasure exhibition. If fellow Daoist Ning is not in a hurry, you can take a look at my Myriad Worlds auction. Ning Qing thanked him and spoke, I indeed have an urgent matter to take care of. Dao friend, she can rest assured that the next time I come, I will definitely stay here for a long time. Since Ning Qing said this, Shi Lin couldn't keep him. He personally escorted Ning Qing out of the heavens beyond before returning. In the void far away from the heavens beyond, Ning Qing called out Ao Kan, this place is already far away from the heavens beyond. You can go. I have to go back too. Ao Kan bowed to Ning Qing. I was afraid of an accident before, so I didn't dare to take my mother's body with me. Now, I'm going to pay my respects to my mother and bring her body back. Where is the senior? After I pay my respects, I'll go find the senior. Ning Qing hesitated a little before saying, I live in the Grand Essence Realm of the 5 Great Realms. The largest place in the Grand Essence Realm is the Grand Essence Sea. In the future, if you want, you can stay in the Grand Essence Sea. He felt that Ao Kan wasn't a cunning person, so he didn't hide it. An expert like Ao Kan settling down in the Grand Essence Realm would only bring benefits to the Grand Essence Realm. Yes, Ao Kan will bid farewell to Big Brother first. After saying that, Ao Kan's body turned into a wave of water ripples and disappeared instantly. This person is very strong. The old fogey felt Ao Kan's strength and suspected that Ao Kan was the person who robbed the auction. Let's go to the Void City of the 5 Realms as fast as we can. Old fogey, you control the Starry Sky Wheel. I have to go into seclusion to study something. Ning Qing directly handed over the control of the Starry Sky Wheel to the old fogey. In less than 3 years, the Starry Sky will stop outside the Void City of the 5 Realms. The old fogey had already recovered to the Dao integration realm. Therefore, even if the Starry Sky Wheel had no artifact spirit, he could still control it extremely quickly. If it weren't for the delay in changing the teleportation arrays in the Void City, the old fogey estimated that it wouldn't have taken him 3 years. After controlling the Starry Sky Wheel for 3 years, the old fogey started to covet the Starry Sky Wheel. He had seen countless flight-type weapons, but none of them could compare to the Starry Sky Wheel. Senior has arrived. As soon as they arrived outside the Void City of the 5 Realms, the old fogey respectfully called out to Ning Qing. He was bored out of his mind. Jiang Man and Mu Yueping had low cultivation levels and were cultivating on the Starry Sky Wheel. Moreover, he didn't like to chat with the two of them. The old fogey liked chasing bull the most and liked to chat with it. However, this fellow had been taught a lesson by Senior and knew that it was weak. Therefore, it had entered Ning Qing's quintessential world to cultivate. Now that he arrived at the Void City of the 5 Realms, he quickly went to call Ning Qing. So fast. Ning Qing walked out of seclusion and marveled at the old fogey's speed. Over the past few years, he had been studying the Array Dao intermittently. Initially, he felt that his Array Dao was good enough. However, after Ao Kan's talisman broke it, Ning Qing felt that his Array Dao level was still far behind. He had already comprehended the Array Dao insights that Nian had given him and had even deduced many of his own Array Dao concepts. As for the Karma spiritual technique, Ning Qing only glanced at it briefly before putting it aside. He had some interest in the 12 words mantra spiritual technique, but he wasn't interested in the other branches of the Karma spiritual technique. When I recover to the perfected Dao integration realm, it might not even take a year to get here from heavens beyond of heaven and earth. The old fogey started to brag. He made up his mind and followed behind Ning Qing. Ning Qing was a big backer. Not only did he have many good things, but he also didn't like to snatch other people's treasures. The reason why he said those words was that he wanted Ning Qing to see his value. Not bad. Ning Qing patted the old fogey's shoulder. Let's go to the teleportation array and get ready to go to the Great Change Realm. Something's not right here. As soon as Ning Qing entered the Void City of the 5 Realms, he felt that something was different. He had been to the Void City of the 5 Realms twice. Each time he came, it was bustling with all kinds of cultivators. However, The streets of the void city of the five realms seemed a little deserted this time. Ning Cheng quickened his pace and arrived at the teleportation array. He had made up his mind that if the person controlling the teleportation array didn't allow him to enter the Great Change Realm, he would use force. What surprised Ning Cheng even more was that the outside of the void city of the five realms was deserted, but the hall where the teleportation array was located was overcrowded. There were people coming and going, and people were being teleported away. Everyone was in a hurry. Another thing that puzzled Ning Cheng was that the teleportation array leading to the Great Change Realm was always full. It seemed like there was no restriction on the number of teleportation slots or the number of times. What was going on? Ning Cheng raised his hand and grabbed a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor beside him. Tao friend, may I ask why there are no restrictions on going to the Great Change Realm and why there are so many people coming and going? The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor felt that Ning Cheng was far stronger than him and quickly replied respectfully, the demonic creatures in the Great Change Realm's underground abyss erupted and all the seals and restrictions were broken. The Great Change Realm simply opened the teleportation array. Each teleportation only costs 500,000 God crystals. Anyone can teleport to the Great Change Realm to kill demonic creatures. Jiang Man asked in confusion, are these people so good that they still want to pay God crystals to kill demonic creatures in the Great Change Realm? Ning Cheng let go of the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor and explained, the Great Change Realm has complete laws. Even if there are no benefits, paying 500,000 God crystals to cultivate is the dream of any Starry Sky cultivator. What's more, they have other benefits. After killing demonic creatures, they can obtain demonic crystals with pure spirit essence. This thing is better than spirit essence pills for cultivation. Yes, let's go and have a look together. The old man smiled. He naturally knew about demonic creatures. Although demonic crystals didn't have much use for him, he could use a large number of demonic crystals to exchange for Starry Sky treasures. Ning Cheng said to Jiang Man and Mu Yueping, the old man and I will go to the Great Change Realm. You guys teleport back from here. Tell Li Fengting and the others that I'm fine and will be back in a while. Jiang Man and Mu Yueping immediately responded. After sending Jiang Man and Mu Yueping away, Ning Cheng and the old man paid 1 million God crystals and easily teleported from the Five Realms Void City to the Great Change Realm. The teleportation array from the Five Realms Void City to the Great Change Realm was built in the Yuanyuan Sacred Tao City. The Yuanyuan Sacred Tao City was actually just a place to stay. People who teleported here would leave quickly. Few people would stay in the Yuanyuan Sacred Tao City for long. The last time Ning Cheng came here, there were very few people here. But this time, when Ning Cheng came to the Yuanyuan Sacred Tao City, he realized what had changed. How could the Yuanyuan Sacred Tao City be sparsely populated? It was also overcrowded. All kinds of stalls were set up everywhere. Most of the stalls had various kinds of demonic crystals or underground ores on them. As soon as Ning Cheng and the old man arrived, they heard the hustle and bustle in their ears. The place with the most people in the Yuanyuan Sacred Tao City was also the teleportation array. The teleportation array clearly stated that it would cost 10,000 God crystals to teleport to the periphery of the underground abyss. Chapter 12:30. The entrance to the underground abyss was in the Scorched Tree Temple, which Ning Cheng had come to before. At that time, he could still see the withered trees stretching for tens of thousands of miles and the endless withered roots under the withered tree. The aura of death and decay could be felt from afar. This was the second time Ning Cheng came here, and it was filled with grayish demonic qi. The violent aura filled the entire world. As for the Scorched Tree Temple that stretched for tens of thousands of miles, it had long since disappeared. Most likely, the scorched tree had long since disappeared into the depths of the demonic qi. Outside the grayish demonic qi, there were some temporary isolation array formations. Many human cultivators and some demonic creatures fought at the edge of these array formations, and humans and demonic creatures died every moment. White bones littered the ground. From this, one could imagine how many people had fallen here. Ning Chung secretly felt ashamed. The demonic creature's early outbreak should have something to do with him. He didn't know if it was because he broke the seal or because he absorbed the spirit essence suppressing the underground demonic creatures. The old man standing next to Ning Chung didn't have such thoughts. He licked his lips. So many demonic creatures. It looks like I'm going to make a fortune. At this moment, a shrill sound of war drums rang out. Following that, countless Tao Court's cultivator army, rogue cultivators, sect disciples, and demonic creatures clashed together. Screams and sounds of weapons bombarding rang out. The demonic creatures continued to devour the essence spirits of human cultivators, and the demonic creatures' demonic crystals were also taken away by human cultivators. Ning Chung looked at the countless cultivators falling silently without a word. According to reason, the Grand Change Realm had invaded the Grand Essence Realm twice, and the Grand Change Realm suffered some damage. But now, he couldn't feel happy at all. "Senior, should we also go and make some money?" In the eyes of the old man, there were countless high-grade demonic crystals here. For him, it was the same as making a fortune. As for the cultivators who fell, it was because they weren't strong enough. If they wanted to go further and obtain more cultivation resources, they would have to go all out. Back then, he had also experienced the same thing. The Great Tao was ruthless, and this was just a manifestation of it. Ning Chung was just about to nod when suddenly a crisp gong sound rang out. The human cultivators retreated, and the demonic creatures also seemed to have a tacit understanding and retreated. Only some scattered human cultivators and the lone demonic creatures were still fighting. Ning Cheng's heart sank. When the demonic creatures from the underground abyss erupted, he had also fought against them. It was a battle without reason or order. Regarding this kind of battle, Ning Chung simply did not care about it. No matter how powerful the demonic creatures were, they were basically unorganized and could not do anything to the human cultivators. However, this was not the case. These monsters were clearly organized and orderly. They were attacking and retreating with a leader. "No, let's go to the command hall. I want to see my old friend Yin Xingwen. By the way, there are also those Tao Court's Tao Lords." Ning Chung looked at the towering buildings in the distance and smiled. Whether it was the beating of the drums or the ringing of the gongs, they all came from this hall. It seemed that this towering hall was temporarily built by the Great Change Realm to deal with the devils. Tens of thousands of miles around the main building were all kinds of cave dwellings. Some simple market squares and street stalls were set up everywhere, and there was an endless stream of people coming and going. It was true that many cultivators would die here every day. However, even more demonic crystals would appear every day. Because of these demonic crystals, people were advancing at every moment. Ning Cheng and the old fogey walked in without anyone stopping them. In other words, anyone could come in and then go out. Bang! A slight spatial fluctuation emerged from a temporary immortal cave next to him, causing Ning Cheng to subconsciously stop in his tracks. Although his spiritual consciousness did not penetrate the temporary cave dwelling, he could feel that someone was fighting with this spatial fluctuation. Wasn't this a place where the Great Change Realm human cultivators gathered? How could someone fight in a cave dwelling? Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness immediately swept in. The cave dwelling's simple isolation restrictions were like paper to Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness. This cave dwelling turned out to be a huge hall. But to Ning Cheng's surprise, 4 men sat in the middle of the hall. Apart from them, 7 or 8 women stood in the middle of the hall. Without exception, these women all wore very little and had their cultivation sealed. A man with only Tao Birth Realm cultivation stood in front of a tall woman with an angry expression on his face. The tall woman's mouth was overflowing with blood. Ning Cheng could tell at a glance that this tall woman had forcibly broken free from the shackles. "Brother Zipping, find another one to sleep with. This one doesn't know what's good for him. It's better to send him to a sealed demonic creature," a man sitting in the middle said. The Tao Birth Divine Emperor, who was addressed as Brother Zipping, grinned. "I want to sleep with this chili pepper. She doesn't know what's good for her. I like women who don't know what's good for them the most." The Tao Birth Divine Emperor's voice stopped abruptly, and he found himself lifted up by the neck. "Let him go." The 4 men sitting above stood up at the same time and shouted in shock. Ning Qing raised his hand and threw the Tao Birth Divine Emperor out. Without waiting for the 4 men to breathe a sigh of relief, Ning Qing continued, "Old fogey, throw these grasshoppers aside. I'll ask them." The old fogey raised his hand and the 5 men fell to his feet. They couldn't even resist. All of this happened quickly. It wasn't until Ning Qing sat at the top of the hall that the people in the hall reacted. Feeling the pressure of death, the man called Brother Zipping's eyes flashed with fear. He called out in a trembling voice, "My name is Su Zipping. I'm from the Su clan." "Oh, I've never heard of it. Who's the Su clan?" Ning Qing patted the corner of the chair beside him and asked. The tall woman, who had blood dripping from the corner of her mouth because of her resistance, said in a hoarse voice, "It's Su Shenghe's family. Su Shenghe is one of the 3 Grand Array Dao Grandmasters of Tai Continent. I heard that he has already reached Dao integration and is even a mid-stage Dao integration expert." "Oh." Ning Qing looked at the tall woman in surprise and said, "Aren't you afraid that I'll be afraid and run away immediately without saving you?" The tall woman smiled bitterly. "I don't want to live anymore. I just hope that Senior can give me a quick death when you leave." Ning Qing nodded and threw a medicinal pill into the tall woman's mouth. At the same time, he shot out a few Dao runes. The 7 women who had been imprisoned around him all released their shackles in an instant. The women were pleasantly surprised and quickly came forward to thank Ning Qing. Ning Qing waved his hand and asked the tall woman, "Tell me, why did you capture you and bring you here? Is it to set up the pure body suppression seal again?" The tall woman bowed. Ning Qing's medicinal pill and the fact that he could easily release the shackles of the others without moving his body told her that Ning Qing was an absolute powerhouse. The old fogey had taken away several Dao birth and Dao sculpting experts out of thin air, which was even more terrifying. Replying to Senior, "That's right. The underground demonic creatures are getting more and more powerful. Although the Great Change Realm doesn't seem to be at a disadvantage, many people know that if this continues, the Great Change Realm will be completely occupied by demonic creatures sooner or later. Therefore, the Great Change Realm's Dao courts and sects, as well as the Great Change Realm's Realm Lord Yin Xingwen, want to use the same method to seal the underground demonic creatures." When the tall woman said this, Ning Qing's expression turned a little solemn. It wasn't a trivial matter for a realm to be occupied by demonic creatures. Even if he had a grudge against the Great Change Realm's Yin Xingwen, he couldn't just sit back and watch this happen, not to mention that this matter was directly related to him. "What's your name?" Ning Qing asked. This tall woman was only at the Dao sculpting realm, but she had a lot of insight and spoke clearly. In a few simple words, she explained the general situation. Not only that, but she also deduced that the Great Change Realm couldn't stop the impact of these demonic creatures. The tall woman bowed and said, "Junior's name is Qiao Xiaolan, a rogue cultivator." Ning Qing nodded and continued to ask, "As far as I know, now that the demonic creatures have completely erupted, I'm afraid it's not realistic to use women as pure bodies to suppress the seal." Qiao Xiaolan clenched her fists, and a trace of sadness flashed across her face as she said, "Because Su Shenghe is a peak array Dao Grandmaster, he proposed to use 18,000 girls to refine pure bodies to suppress the sealing pillars, to suppress the underground demonic beings." Ning Qing also felt shocked when he heard these words. How many dog heads did it take to come up with such a rotten idea? Not to mention that 18,000 girls couldn't suppress the underground demonic creatures. Even if they could suppress them, how many days could they last? "How do you know about this?" Ning Qing suddenly felt suspicious. If there really was such a thing, it wouldn't have been leaked. If it was leaked, then it would have been strange if so many cultivators came here to kill demonic creatures. Because he just told me that we're just a small group. Once the inspection is over, we'll be imprisoned in a place and wait to refine the sealing pillars. Qiao Xiaolan pointed to Su Zipping, who had been stepped on by the old man, and spoke through gritted teeth. Ning Qing understood that Su Zipping wanted to use this information to threaten Qiao Xiaolan. He looked at Su Zipping coldly. Su Zipping saw Ning Qing looking at him and quickly said, "This has nothing to do with me. You can't touch me." Ning Qing waved his hand and said to the old man, "Kill them all." The old man smiled, and the Tao runes under his feet spread out. Including Su Zipping, the 5 men directly turned into nothingness under his feet. The eyes of Qiao Xiaolan and the others twitched. This kind of strength that could turn a Tao nourishment holy emperor into nothingness. Most likely, this person was at the perfected primordial chaos realm, right? Ning Cheng stood up and said to Qiao Xiaolan and the other women, "I'm going to find Yin Xingwen, but you have to swear not to tell anyone about this. Otherwise, I will kill you." Once such a thing spread, the Great Change Realm's alliance against the demonic creatures would immediately collapse. Qiao Xiaolan understood Ning Cheng's meaning and quickly said, "Senior, please put it down. This junior will stay by Senior's side and will never tell anyone about it." The rest of the women hurriedly swore that they would not speak of this matter. Ning Cheng was just about to ask Qiao Xiaolan what she was doing by his side when he suddenly remembered something. His expression immediately changed. "Old man, come with me to find Yin Xingwen." Chapter 12:31. Stop, this is the command hall. 2 Tao transformation divine emperors stopped Ning Cheng and the old man at the entrance of the hall's defensive formation. Scram! The old man had already felt Ning Cheng's displeasure. Now that someone stopped them, he raised his hand and slapped them twice. The 2 Tao transformation divine emperors were sent flying by him, and the defensive formation of the command hall also cracked. Which Tao friend is it? Now is the time of the Grand Change Realm's crisis. How dare you attack my Grand Change Command Hall's defensive formation? A deep voice rang in Ning Cheng and the old man's ears the moment Ning Cheng stepped into the formation. The old man chuckled, "It's your grandpa Ping Ding." As they spoke, Ning Cheng and the old man landed in the spacious and luxurious hall. The restrictions along the way were easily torn apart by the two of them. Even if it was a temporary hall for the Grand Change Realm cultivators and the demonic creatures of the underground abyss, the luxury of this hall still surprised Ning Cheng. The hall was full of people, and Yin Xingwen sat at the head of the table. The people sitting on both sides of Yin Xingwen were all powerhouses. In this place, Ning Cheng could see the strength of the Grand Change Realm. There were at least 10 Tao integration powerhouses here. The Grand Essence Realm's strength was nothing compared to this place. Sitting next to Yin Xingwen was Feng Xian. Ning Cheng didn't expect this guy to still be here. In addition, Ning Cheng also knew Ao Beijiang, Mu Zuoxiao, Lei Shiran, Yi Qianhua, Wei Xinghao, and others. "Ning Cheng, it's you?" Ao Beijiang was the first to stand up with a hint of surprise in his eyes. He didn't expect Ning Cheng to come to him today. He was courting death. "So it's Tao Lord Ning from the Grand Essence Tao Court." A woman stood up and cupped her fists towards Ning Cheng. "I'm Tao Lord Bai Ling from the Yaohua Tao Court. This is our Yaohua Tao Court's guardian, Gu Ruoshi." Gu Ruoshi was a middle-aged woman sitting next to her. She looked ordinary, but her Tao runes were completely integrated with the surrounding heaven and earth laws. Clearly, she was extremely powerful. When the Grand Change Tao Court's army besieged Grand Essence under Yin Xingwen's leadership, the Yaohua Tao Court was the only one who didn't send out their army. Now that Ning Cheng came in, Yaohua Tao Court's Tao monarch Bai Ling took the initiative to greet him. Ning Cheng quickly stepped forward and cupped his fists. "So it's Tao monarch Bai Ling." Ning Cheng greets Tao monarch and Tao friend Gu Ruoshi. Ning Cheng will always remember the righteousness of the Yaohua Tao Court. The Yaohua Tao Court was in the Great Change Realm, but they didn't send the Tao Court's army to attack Taisu. Although the Taisu Tao Court's army had defeated the Tai Tao Court's army, it was definitely due to Qing Lan's timely participation. What would have happened if Gu Ruoshi had joined the Tai Tao Court army instead of Qing Lan? Therefore, when Ning Cheng spoke about righteousness, it was not just nonsense. Although Gu Ruoshi looked ordinary, she had a slender figure and a solid Tao rune. Her cultivation level was definitely not lower than the late-stage Tao integration realm. Gu Ruoshi smiled and nodded at Ning Cheng. "Tao Lord Ning is an amazing talent. Your future achievements will definitely surpass ours. Perhaps we'll have to rely on Tao Lord Ning for many things in the future." The old fart standing next to Ning Cheng sneered in his heart. What do you mean by far surpassing you in the future? Not to mention Ning Cheng, even I, Ping Ding, will beat you. After Gu Ruashi finished speaking, she stood up and cupped her fists at the old fart. Is this Senior Jiang Zhong, the great Emperor Ping Ding from back then? When the old fart heard that someone still remembered him, he suddenly laughed. I didn't expect that someone would still remember me, Jiang Zhong. I Ping Ding am optimistic about you. Initially, everyone was a little puzzled as to why Gu Ruashi stood up and cupped her fists in front of the old fart. But after hearing the name Great Emperor Ping Ding, they completely understood. At this time, all the sacred emperors who knew the old fart stood up and greeted him with cupped fists. Instead, Ning Cheng was ignored. Ao Beijiang, who was about to attack Ning Cheng, had his expression change a few times. However, he held back and greeted the old fart. Yin Xingwen acted as if he didn't know about the previous gap and said to Ning Cheng with a smile, Dao Lord Ning and Great Emperor Ping Ding, please take a seat. As he spoke, 2 more seats were added to the front seats. At this time, everyone understood why Ning Cheng dared to come here alone. It turned out that he relied on the protection of Great Emperor Ping Ding. Just when everyone thought that Ning Cheng would follow behind Ping Ding Heavenly Emperor and take a seat, a shocking scene took place. Great Emperor Ping Ding didn't sit down but spoke to Ning Cheng respectfully, Senior, please take a seat first. Senior? Please take a seat first? What was going on? In an instant, everyone's eyes focused on Ning Cheng. Senior of Great Emperor Ping Ding, what was the origin of this Ning Cheng? Ning Cheng didn't sit down but looked at Yin Xingwen and asked, Realm Master Xingwen, I don't think this is the first time we've met. Yin Xingwen showed a slight smile. Dao Lord Ning is right. Although there were some misunderstandings before, Dao Lord Ning took the initiative to help before the demonic beast disaster. I've long forgotten about those small misunderstandings. Yin Xingwen naturally knew that although there were more than a dozen Dao Unification sacred emperors here, only a few could help him if he really wanted to attack Ning Cheng. Moreover, Great Emperor Ping Ding wasn't a simple person. A simple person would have died a long time ago. Even if they could kill Ning Cheng here, they wouldn't be able to kill Ping Ding. What's more, with Ping Ding here, how could he kill Ning Cheng? He might as well say that Ning Cheng had come to help. Seeing Yin Xingwen putting righteousness in front of him, Ning Cheng still spoke indifferently. When I came, I saw a man named Su Ziping capture a few female cultivators. I heard that he wanted to set up some ceiling restriction array. As Ning Cheng spoke till here, he felt an ice-cold gaze sweeping towards him. Ning Cheng stared at it without hesitation. It was a thin man in black robes with a strong Dao rune. At first glance, he could tell that he was a middle-stage Dao unification expert. Ning Cheng guessed that this person should be Su Shenghe, who advocated the pure body seal. I, Su Shenghe, proposed it. What? Do you have a problem with it? The thin man in black suddenly stood up and spoke in a cold tone. I have a problem with it, so I killed that ant named Su Ziping, Ning Cheng replied in a cold tone. You're courting death. When the thin man in black heard that Su Ziping had been killed, his killing intent immediately spread out. To him, Su Ziping was an insignificant person. However, Ning Cheng had said in front of so many people that he had killed Su Ziping from the Su family. If he did not kill Ning Cheng, where would he put his face as a Dao unification expert? A powerful killing intent Dao rune blasted towards Ning Cheng. As if they had agreed beforehand, none of the holy emperors in the hall moved, letting the powerful killing intent Dao rune press down on Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng did not move, but the old man beside him moved. Little thing, your grandpa Ping Ding killed that ant. While speaking, Great Emperor Ping Ding's figure flashed, and the same killing intent Dao rune swept towards Su Shenghe. Su Shenghe was at the middle stage Dao unification, a little higher than the old man. However, given Ping Ding's strength, even a late-stage Dao unification expert might not be his opponent, let alone Su Shenghe, who focused on the array Dao. The two nomological forces rolled together, and a violent killing intent Dao rune swept out. Fortunately, everyone in the hall was an expert. Therefore, the killing intent Dao rune could not spread out at all and was blocked by the experts in the hall. Neither of them used their Dharma treasures, and the old man's killing intent directly suppressed Su Shenghe. Just by exchanging blows, Su Shenghe knew that he was not the old man's opponent. Not only was he not the old man's opponent, but he was also far from it. At that moment, the two's Dao runes and killing intents were entangled. If he wanted to escape as soon as possible, he would have to use his Dharma treasure. Su Shenghe's hand grabbed at the void, and a mottled 8 trigrams disc appeared in the void. While Su Shenghe's 8 trigrams disc appeared, Great Emperor Pingding also brought out his heaven and earth cauldron. How dare he say that Senior Ning was courting death? Therefore this kid had to die. Su Shenghe's face turned cold. His strongest strength was not in battle, but in the array Dao. After he escaped, he would not be one of the 3 great array Dao masters of the Tai sect if he did not use the array formation to trap the 2 of them. The 8 trigrams disc had just flickered when Su Shenghe felt a terrifying spiritual consciousness storm blasting into his sea of consciousness. Then, a powerful explosive nomological power started raging in his sea of consciousness. Boom! Su Shenghe's entire body trembled. The next moment he lost contact with his 8 trigrams disc. Someone had sneak attacked his sea of consciousness from the side. Su Shenghe's entire body turned cold. He did not expect that someone could silently blast into his sea of consciousness. When Su Shenghe saw Ning Cheng sneering at him from afar, he instantly understood. This was the early-stage primordial chaos sacred emperor. Yet, this early-stage primordial chaos sacred emperor could seize the opportunity to blast into his sea of consciousness the moment he brought out his Dharma treasure. This was simply too terrifying. Su Shenghe frantically tried to restore his spiritual consciousness and regain the right to escape, but the old man did not give him the chance. If the old man could not seize this opportunity, he would not be able to earn the title of Great Emperor Pingding. The heaven and earth cauldron turned into a huge mountain and directly blasted against Su Shenghe's body. No matter how strong Su Shenghe's physical body was, he could not resist the heaven and earth cauldron. When the heaven and earth cauldron fell, Su Shenghe was blasted into pieces. Su Shenghe's principal spirit had just emerged when it was completely strangled by the heaven and earth cauldron's shadow. It was not until the old man put away the heaven and earth cauldron and stood casually beside Ning Cheng that everyone in the hall completely understood what had happened. They had planned to let Su Shenghe test Ning Cheng's strength. They had not expected that Ning Cheng would not even move, and Su Shenghe would be blasted to death. Only a few top-notch experts could see that Ning Cheng had sneak-attacked Su Shenghe with his spiritual consciousness. Xiao Xiaolan, who had followed Ning Cheng in, was completely stunned. Ning Cheng was a Dao lord of a realm. She could not figure it out. Now, even a Dao integration expert like Su Shenghe had been turned into nothingness in just a few moves. Dao Lord Ning, Daoist Su, is the top array Dao master in the Great Change realm. Daoist Su contributed a lot to the demonic invasion this time. Daoist Ning killed Daoist Su the moment he arrived. I'm afraid this is not justifiable. Yin Xingwen had wanted to see the strength of Ning Cheng or the old man. He had not expected that Su Shenghe would be killed before he even had a chance to rescue them. Chapter 1232. However, Ning Cheng didn't give Yin Xingwen any face and spoke up in a cold voice. Yin Xingwen, you're the master of the Grand Change realm. Yet, you use tens of thousands of innocent girls in the Grand Change realm as pure bodies to suppress the seal. I don't need to say anything, but I believe that everyone here knows about it. Not only do they need young girls, but they also need to be extremely kind-hearted. Could it be that kindness was used by others? If this goes on, wouldn't the world be filled with evil people? Since Su Shenghe proposed such a vicious sealing method, why wouldn't I kill him? Could it be that this vicious sealing method wasn't proposed by Su Shenghe, but by Starwind Realm Lord? If that's the case, then I can apologize to Su Shenghe and ask for Starwind Realm Lord's opinion. Yin Xingwen was a shrewd person. Despite Ning Cheng's words, he still asked calmly, so, if such a thing happened in the Grand Essence Realm, Dao Lord Ning would rather let the Grand Essence Realm perish than do such a thing to save a few people? Ning Cheng laughed, but there was no smile on his face. Instead, his tone carried a hint of disdain. If the people of the entire realm didn't even have the courage to fight to the death and needed the kindest people to nail their souls and primordial spirits to the ceiling pillars to save them, then this realm wouldn't even need to exist. What's the difference between living and dying in a realm with no kind souls? In life, there are things that one shouldn't do. Xingwen Realm Lord used countless innocent and kind-hearted young girls to save a world. Didn't he feel any shame in dragging out his life? If such a thing happened in the Grand Essence realm, then all the cultivators of the realm would fight and die. Yaohua Dao Court's Dao Lord Bai Ling stood up and applauded. Behind Dao Lord Bai Ling, a middle-aged Confucian scholar also stood up and clapped. Dao Lord Ning's words are enlightening. If we hide behind a group of kind-hearted women, then no matter how great our achievements in the future, I'm afraid it will be difficult for us to make any further progress. At this point, the middle-aged Confucian scholar deliberately walked out and bowed to Ning Cheng. Thank you, Dao Lord Ning, for enlightening me with your words. Otherwise, my heart-dispelling water would only be at Dao integration in the future. Only then did Ning Cheng know who the person who had come forward was. He quickly cupped his fists and said, "It turns out to be Dao Lord Jie of the Taishin Dao Court. I just saw human nature. Dao Friend Jie's vision is far better than mine." Ning Cheng cupped his fists in return. What he said was the truth. He did not want to do these things because of his temperament. He did not think that it was related to his great Dao. Jie Xinshui was actually able to tell that once he did something like this, it would affect his Dao in the future. Jie Xinshui said seriously, "Dao Lord Ning's words are wrong. I'm not as good as Dao Lord Ning. I'm still thinking about my own improvement and the great Dao." Dao Lord Ning himself, from the depths of his heart, is unwilling to do this. From this, you can see that Dao Lord Ning's Dao far surpasses mine. Before Ning Cheng could answer again, a sneering voice arrived. So, if something like this happens in the Grand Essence realm, Dao Lord Ning would rather die than surrender and would eventually die in battle? Ning Cheng looked at the person who spoke and spoke with an ice-cold tone. "Ao Beijiang, I'll settle your account with you slowly. There's no need to rush. But I can answer your question. If something like this happens in the Grand Essence realm, I, as a Dao Lord of this realm, might not be the last to die. But I will definitely fight to the end." Dao Lord Ning is a man of character. I, Gu Sisi, agree with Dao Lord Ning's words. Another strong man with a short beard stood up. Seeing Ning Cheng look over, the man cupped his fists again and said, "I'm Gu Sisi, the sect master of the vast space Dao sect. Greetings, Dao Lord Ning. I believe everyone understands what Dao Lord Ning means. We can fight against the demonic creatures. Even if we can't defeat them in the end, we can retreat as the last person. As cultivators, there are things that we should do and things that we shouldn't do." Ning Cheng quickly returned the greeting. "So it's Dao Friend Gu. Nice to meet you." Ning Cheng had never heard of Gu Sisi, but he had heard of the vast space Dao sect. It was one of the 3 major Dao sects in the Grand Change realm, second only to the 5 major Dao courts. Seeing more and more people getting involved with Ning Cheng, although Yin Xingwen's expression remained the same, he felt a little awkward in his heart. Ever since he took control of the Luing Dao court, his status as a realm lord had greatly improved. However, he still couldn't control the 3 major Dao sects and the 5 major Dao courts, not to mention the 7 shrines that had always been outside the Grand Change realm. So, Dao Lord Ning means that the cultivators of the Grand Change realm should fight with their lives to suppress the demonic creatures in the Grand Change realm's underground abyss? Of course, I believe that after the demonic creatures occupy the Grand Change realm, Dao Lord Ning will definitely open the Grand Essence realm and allow the cultivators of the Grand Change realm to live there. However, I'm the Realm Lord of the Grand Change realm. If I can protect the Grand Change realm, I'm willing to fight to the last person, like Dao Lord Ning said. Yin Xingwen spoke in a tone that was neither arrogant nor humble. Everyone could hear the meaning behind his words. That is, Ning Cheng's words didn't hurt his back. Ning Cheng, Dao Lord Grand Essence, didn't care about the life and death of the Grand Change realm. As for using the word live there, It was to tell the powerhouses of the Grand Change Realm that the Grand Change Realm no longer existed. Even if they survived and lived in the Grand Essence Realm, they would still be living under someone else's roof. Ning Cheng naturally understood the meaning behind Yin Xingwen's words. He spoke up in a cold tone, "Realm Lord Xingwen, since I'm here, I'm naturally willing to contribute my strength to the Grand Change Realm. I hope that Realm Lord Xingwen doesn't care about others and use some small means to divide everyone's strength." Yin Xingwen's face stiffened, and the anger in his heart started to burn. "Ning Cheng, you're a Dao Lord, but this is my Grand Change Realm's territory. I'm also the Grand Change Realm's Realm Lord, yet you speak so bluntly. My words are meant to sow discord, while your words are righteous and dignified." Ning Cheng didn't care about Yin Xingwen's expression at all and continued, "Countless Dao friends in the Grand Change Realm, as well as countless Dao friends from other places, are fighting against the demonic creatures one after another. Although it's for the demonic crystals, it also has the desire to destroy the demonic creatures and restore peace to the Grand Change Realm. If we use the kind-hearted girls as pure bodies to suppress the demonic creatures, wouldn't it hurt everyone's hearts once everyone learns about it? Therefore, I hope that the first step is to release all the captured girls as pure bodies." I agree with Dao Lord Ning's words. Jie Xinshui was the first to stand up. Then, Yaohua Dao Court's Dao Lord Bai Ling and many other powerhouses expressed their agreement with Ning Cheng's proposal. Yin Xingwen knew that even if everyone disagreed with Ning Cheng's opinion, Ning Cheng had killed Su Shenghe, and they couldn't use their pure bodies to suppress the seal. He also nodded and said, "I also agree with this point. I'll let someone handle this matter. Dao friend Ning, you don't have to worry about it." Ning Cheng said in a deep voice, "We have to handle this matter ourselves. Once it's done, I'll do my best to help the Grand Change Realm suppress the demonic creatures. Even if I have to mobilize the Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court army, I won't back down." The reason why Ning Cheng wanted to do it himself was that he worried that Su Shenghe would capture she again. The pure body suppression also required the purest and kindest soul as the array heart. Only she could meet this condition. Since Su Shenghe proposed to use 18,000 kind-hearted girls as pure bodies to suppress the demonic creatures, then he must have found the girl as the array heart. This was the reason why he felt the most anxious. If it really was she, then even if she hadn't been refined into a seal, once the demonic creatures were suppressed, he would go to Yin Xingwen for some interest. He would even take out the matter of invading the Grand Essence Realm to settle accounts. Yin Xingwen stood up with a calm expression. "In that case, I'll accompany Dao Lord Ning. Since Dao Lord Ning is so confident, my Grand Change Realm still has a lot to rely on Dao Lord Ning." Ning Cheng didn't care about Yin Xingwen's words at all and said without any politeness, "Lead the way." If he hadn't fought with Ning Cheng, Feng Xian would have already jumped out to target Ning Cheng. But now, he only hoped that he wouldn't have anything to do with Ning Cheng. In his eyes, Ning Cheng was a nightmare. Even without Ping Cauldron Great Emperor, this nightmare was already so terrifying. Now that he had Ping Cauldron Great Emperor's help, he didn't dare to touch this nightmare. At this time, he only hoped to end things in the Great Change Realm as soon as possible and use Yin Xingwen to go to heavens beyond to find the trace of his Feng clan's ancient bloodline. Yin Xingwen didn't argue with Ning Cheng. He didn't have the means to deal with Ning Cheng, and he couldn't deal with him now. No matter from which point of view, as a realm lord, he didn't want the demonic creatures to occupy the Great Change Realm. Since Ning Cheng said that he would help in front of so many powerhouses, he definitely wouldn't go back on his words. Since he could borrow power, why wouldn't he, Yin Xingwen, use it? Under Yin Xingwen's lead, everyone quickly passed through several seals and restrictions and came to a larger hall. The 18,000 girls hadn't been gathered yet, but there were thousands of girls imprisoned in the hall. These girls were imprisoned, and once 18,000 people were gathered, they would immediately start refining the ceiling pillars. Slap. A slap was heard, followed by an angry voice. "So what if your father is the sect master of the Qin Yen divine sect? See, the woman next to this emperor is one of the top 3 in the 5 realms pill competition. She's the Dao companion of Ning Cheng, the Dao lord of the Tai Su Dao court. Isn't she still following behind this emperor to serve him? Let me tell you, as long as you enter here, you have to think of yourself as a sealing pillar. For the sake of the great change realm, this emperor touching you is giving you face. The angry voice suddenly stopped, because he saw many people coming in. When he saw Yin Xingwen walking in front of him, he was shocked and hurriedly put down his perverted hands that were about to touch the young girl. He walked over quickly and bowed. Seal Hall Deacon Chu Rui greets the Realm Lord, Dao Lords, Sect Masters, and Seniors. When the girls saw so many powerhouses coming in, their faces showed sadness. They all thought that the refining of the sealing pillars had begun. They were innocent, but because of their kindness, they were caught and suppressed here. Chapter 12:33. Is the woman next to you Dao Lord Ning's Dao companion? Jade Clear Dao Quartz Dao Unification Holy Emperor Wei Shenghao suddenly asked. He didn't have any good intentions in asking this question. Ning Cheng's imposing manner was very big, and he even spoke a lot of high-sounding words, while carrying a noble aura. Now that his Dao companion followed a little deacon, how would Ning Cheng deal with such a loss of face? Yes. Chu Rui didn't know Ning Cheng, and even if he knew him, he wouldn't dare to look at these big shots who came in. At most, he would just glance at them and bow to them. Shan Yaotzen opened her mouth wide and looked at Ning Cheng standing next to Yin Xingwen in shock. She didn't expect Ning Cheng to appear here. Just a moment later, her face turned pale. Ning Cheng spoke in a sarcastic tone. It's not easy to become a pure body suppression girl. I was wondering how senior apprentice Sister Shan could become a pure body suppression girl. It turns out that she's a deacon's wife. But why didn't I think that senior apprentice Sister Shan would become my Dao companion? With a Dao companion like senior apprentice Sister Shan, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Shan Yaotzen didn't expect to meet Ning Cheng under such circumstances. In fact, she felt a little uneasy when she pretended to be Ning Cheng's Dao companion. It's just that Ning Cheng had a good reputation in the Great Change realm. After she pretended to be Ning Cheng's Dao companion, she not only gained too much glory but also a lot of convenience. If it weren't for the eruption of the underground demonic creatures, she would still be living a good life. Although many people didn't like Ning Cheng, no one dared to touch her, who was suspected to be Ning Cheng's Dao companion. When the underground demonic creatures erupted, the Great Change realm looked for a pure body girl to suppress the demonic creatures. Naturally, she was brought here. Unfortunately, she didn't fit in with kindness at all. She wasn't qualified to be the sealing pillar to suppress the demonic creatures, but she had a good appearance. So, in order to survive, she could only become Chu Rui's follower. Your name Dao Lord Ning? If Chu Rui still didn't know that the man with the ordinary spear in front of him was Ning Cheng, then he would be a pig. Even if these girls were sent here for pure suppression, they still sacrificed themselves for the sake of the Grand Change realm. You're just a deacon, yet you dare to touch me here? Living is just a waste of air. As Ning Cheng spoke, he sent out a Dao charm handprint. No one stopped Ning Cheng. Since Chu Rui was able to become a deacon in this place, then naturally he had a strong background. Those who had enmity with Ning Cheng, of course, hoped that Ning Cheng would have more and more enemies, while those who did not have enmity with Ning Cheng could not bear to see such a shameless person like Chu Rui. Chu Rui, a Dao actualization divine emperor, couldn't even beg for mercy and was slapped into nothingness. Shan Yaotzen, who stood next to Chu Rui, froze. She had also heard some news about Ning Cheng returning to the Grand Essence realm. She had even heard that he had become Dao Lord Grand Essence and defeated the Grand Change Dao Court's army. But she never expected that Ning Cheng would dare to come to the Grand Change realm. Not only did he dare to come here, but he also dared to kill Deacon Chu Rui of the Sealing Hall in front of the Celestial Literature World Master. Even if he did not consider these things, when did Ning Cheng possess such strength? She clearly remembered that when she first met Ning Cheng's cultivation was far inferior to hers. Compared to Ning Cheng, she was an unreachable existence. But how many years had passed since then? Ning Cheng was already an unreachable existence for her. The matters of the world were nothing more than this. The imprisoned girls on seeing Ning Cheng kill Chu Rui directly felt a little sluggish. What was going on? Chu Rui was a king-like existence in this place, but now he was slapped into nothingness. Innocent sisters, Su Shenghe has no sense of shame. He used the kindness of human nature to suppress others. It's despicable. After Dao Lord Grand Essence Ningcheng learned about this, he killed Su Shenghe to give justice to all sisters. Now, all sisters are free. Bai Ling, as a female Dao Lord, was the first to stand up and explain the situation. Yin Xingwen's expression turned a little ugly. He should have said those words instead. Bai Ling obviously saw that he wanted to speak, so she spoke ahead of him. From the looks of it, Bai Ling had a lot of opinions about him. Don't look at just a few thousand women. Once all of them were released, it would damage his reputation a lot. Thinking of this, Yin Xingwen no longer cared about shame and spoke up, Dao Lord Bai Ling is right. After learning about this, I felt very sad. As the Great Change Realm's Realm Master, I have a direct responsibility. I trusted Su Shenghe too much. If I knew that he had captured all my junior apprentice sisters to suppress others, I would have let all my junior apprentice sisters go free even if I had to sacrifice an array Dao Master. Fortunately, Dao Lord Ning got the news in time and came to tell me. But it wasn't too late. After killing Su Shenghe, we immediately rushed over. Yin Xingwen's words were extremely vague. He didn't say how Su Shenghe deceived him. Moreover, his tone implied that after listening to Ning Cheng's words, he wanted to destroy Su Shenghe together with Ning Cheng. However, none of the imprisoned girls cared about this. No matter how kind they were, they wouldn't be willing to be refined into a suppressive pillar. At this time, everyone only felt joy and gratitude. Because of their kindness, few of them hated the person who captured them. For them, they were more grateful to the person who rescued them. Although Yin Xingwen pulled some points for himself, it couldn't change their minds. The reason why they were rescued was mainly because of Dao Lord Tai Su Ningcheng. Looking at the thousands of rescued girls, Ningcheng asked with a gloomy expression, "Is everyone here? Why don't I see the pure-body girl refining the array heart?" Ning Cheng's words were completely intentional. Shan Yaotzen, who didn't know whether to advance or retreat, quickly spoke up, "There is a sealed space in the innermost part. I heard that the sealed space is used as an array heart." Without waiting for Shan Yaotzen to finish, Ning Cheng had already stepped into the hall. Sure enough, after crossing the hall, Ning Cheng saw an ingenious seal restriction. Even Ning Cheng couldn't help but admire this Su Shenghe. Even he didn't notice this restriction the first time. Standing at the entrance of the restriction, Ning Cheng didn't wait for Yin Xingwen to open the restriction and directly raised his hand to tear it open. Ning Cheng directly tore open a powerful seal restriction with his bare hands. A young girl in a light green dress with her hair draped over her shoulders was restrained on a lotus platform. "An E?" Ning Cheng blurted out. After an E was selected by Lan Yinyu to enter the Clear Heart 3-Star Academy, he hadn't seen an E again. Later, in the Eternal Night Domain, he saw An Yi's statue, and then took An Yi's statue with him. It was only when he returned to Graceful Star Mainland and found traces of an E tearing through space in the Celestial Moon Pill Gate that he guessed that An Yi's cultivation had been sealed or that she had reincarnated. Even so, Ning Cheng didn't expect to see an E many years later in the Grand Change Realm, which had nothing to do with him. Even if his thoughts raced, he couldn't imagine that an E would appear in this place. "Dao Lord Ning, do you know this woman?" Yin Xingwen suspected that Ning Cheng deliberately said that he knew this woman. That way, he could use it as an excuse to find trouble with him. Although he didn't fear Ning Cheng, he didn't want to fall into such a trap. Ning Cheng looked at Yin Xingwen coldly and said, "Xingwen Realm Master, An E is one of my most important friends. If anything happens to her, I won't forget where she died." An E was the first person to go through life and death with Ning Cheng after he came to Graceful Star Mainland alone. Even the secret of his mysterious yellow bead, An E was the first person to know about it. She and An E had gone through many trials and tribulations together, and it was a friendship that could never be forgotten. No matter who brought An E here, he wouldn't let it go. Yin Xingwen's face sank, but Jie Xinshui could tell that Ning Cheng really knew An E. He quickly said, "In that case, let's wait for Dao Lord Ning outside." After Dao Lord Ning talks to his friends, we can discuss how to deal with the underground demonic creatures. At this time, no one really wanted to start internal strife. The underground demonic creatures were so terrifying that everyone needed to work together the most. Yin Xingwen didn't refute Jie Xinshui's words, and the others naturally didn't want to oppose it. They all left the seal and gave the space to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng suppressed the anger in his heart and raised his hand to form a few hand seals with his Dao charm. The shackles on Enyi's body cracked open. Enyi's Dao charm finally became clear, and Ning Cheng also caught a glimpse of her cultivation. She had reached the full-circle Dao transformation realm. After a few breaths, Enyi opened her eyes in a daze. Then her eyes filled with surprise. "Big brother Ning, it's really you. Did you come to save me again?" "Enyi, why are you here?" Ning Cheng felt that something was wrong with Enyi, but he couldn't tell what exactly was wrong. While talking, Ning Cheng raised his hand and took out a few medicinal pills and handed them to Enyi. Enyi didn't even look at them before putting Ning Cheng's medicinal pills into her mouth. Ning Cheng was the person she trusted the most, no one else. "Big brother Ning, were you the one who lifted the seal on my statue? I went to that place later, but I couldn't find Big brother Ning. After that, I wandered around in the void and heard the news of a pill sage named Ning Cheng taking the top 3 in the 5 realms pill competition. I didn't know if it was Big brother Ning, so I found a way to come to the Great Change realm." As Enyi spoke until here, Ning Cheng knew that Enyi must have missed out a lot of information. He raised his hand to stop Enyi from continuing. "Enyi, wait, look at the statue." Ning Cheng always felt that Enyi's statue had a trace of spirituality. With his current knowledge and cultivation, he could vaguely see that this statue had a trace of Enyi's soul sealed within it. Ning Cheng had carefully kept this statue in the mysterious yellow bead. Perhaps it was because he had taken away Enyi's statue that Enyi's seal was unlocked. "Big brother Ning, hurry up and put away the statue." Enyi saw the statue and immediately cried out in panic. Ning Cheng didn't know what Enyi meant, but he believed in Enyi's words. As soon as Enyi said those words, he immediately put away Enyi's statue. Nevertheless, it was still too late. A dull tremor erupted in the void, and even with Ning Cheng's cultivation, he couldn't help but shiver subconsciously. Before he could react, a majestic aura that blotted out the sky and covered the earth came crashing down. This terrifying, imposing aura directly enveloped him, giving him a feeling of irresistibility. Chapter 12:34. Not good. Ning Cheng raised his hand and grabbed Enyi beside him. The creation divine spear exploded with thousands of spear flares and killing intent. In the face of this terrifying aura, any law or Dao rune aura had no meaning. All nomological power or one's own Dao rune power were like floating clouds in the face of this aura. The creation divine spear relied entirely on its own spear intent. Under Ning Cheng's guidance, it swept away almost all the killing aura in this space and blasted towards this majestic pressure. 2 terrifying forces blasted together. Boom, boom, boom. Not to mention the sealed hall, even the surrounding buildings were turned into nothingness under this terrifying momentum. Void cracks appeared in the space, and the majestic aura that seemed to be pressing down from the sky was blocked by Ning Cheng's creation divine spear. A vortex space that looked like a spider web appeared, and endless terrifying aura overflowed from this spider web. Anyone within the range of this aura, even a Dao integration expert, would be blasted back by the terrifying power. The weaker ones even spat out blood and flew backward. The countless cultivators in the encampment fell into an uproar. The black hole in the void and the terrifying suppressive killing intent made everyone feel uneasy. As for the countless cave abodes that had turned into flying ashes, no one cared about them. Everyone hurriedly retreated, wanting to escape from the terrifying vortex beneath the spiderweb-like void cracks. Ning Cheng bore the brunt of the attack and immediately spat out several mouthfuls of blood. He flew backward, and the bones in his body cracked. His Dao rune laws also became chaotic at this moment, and he couldn't condense them at all. Before he landed on the ground, Ning Cheng swallowed a drop of quintessential essence of the universe. His injuries were very serious. Under this majestic aura that ignored laws and Dao runes, his Dao rune laws had some cracks. If he used elixirs, he was afraid that it would take him a few months to recover. What was this place? He was in the middle of a group of tigers. Once he lost his strength, he would be like a lamb waiting to die. Under the quintessential essence of the universe, Ning Cheng's Dao rune injuries quickly healed. As for the physical injuries, they were nothing to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng, who landed on the ground again, stared blankly at the space above the ruins. The spider web-like void cracks seemed to be shrinking, but the terrifying aura was still surging. Moreover, the aura was getting more and more majestic. Obviously, the next wave of attacks would come. Ning Cheng was shocked. What cultivation level was this? Third step? Feng Huangmei was also a third-step world creation realm expert, but he was sure that Feng Huangmei didn't even have 1/10 of this move. Moreover, the other party was separated by an endless void. If the other party stood in front of him, Ning Cheng might not even be able to stand up to him. He vaguely heard an angry snort from the end of the void. Then, the majestic aura condensed again in the void above his head. At this moment, not only Ning Cheng, but all you, Ning Cheng, but also all. What kind of cultivation did he have to be able to unleash such a terrifying attack? Everyone stared in horror at the spiderweb cracks in the void that had yet to condense. Under the lock of such a terrifying aura, no one dared to continue running away. They were all waiting for the majestic and boundless aura to descend upon them once again. On an uninhabited planet infinitely far from the Great Change Realm, a young man stared at the majestic aura fluctuations not far away in shock and murmured, "So strong. What kind of strength is this? To be able to unleash such a powerful attack across countless positional planes?" On the young man's back, there was a sheathless broadsword on his back. "Brother Yi, I'm afraid we have to leave quickly. Looking at this terrifying aura, the next attack will probably turn this planet into nothingness." The one who spoke was a slightly chubby middle-aged man. His skin was very white, and the Dao charm around him had completely integrated with the void. Apparently, he was also a peerless powerhouse. Behind this slightly chubby middle-aged man was a young woman. She also frowned, apparently still having some lingering fear from the previous wave of attacks. That person is very strong. After a long while, the young woman spoke slowly. The young man and the chubby middle-aged man both understood what the young woman meant. She wasn't talking about the person who launched the attack, but the person who blocked it. The previous terrifying attack was obviously meant to kill someone, but it didn't achieve the desired effect. Otherwise, he wouldn't have condensed his aura for a second time. That majestic attack actually didn't kill a single person. Clearly, that person was very strong. The young man with the broadsword looked up at the vast void and felt the increasingly majestic oppressive aura. He then said in a low voice, "Why should I leave? This is obviously an almighty from another positional plane. He wants to use his boundless great divine power to cross the endless void to deal with people. Does he want to go over my head? I won't let him have his way. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have the power to cross planes." Just as the young man with the broadsword finished speaking, another majestic aura that was just as terrifying as the previous one came crashing down. This aura directly ignored the void planet they were on. It seemed like it wanted to crush this void planet into nothingness. At this moment, even if the few of them wanted to leave, they couldn't. The young man suddenly flew up, and the broadsword on his back had already slashed out. A purple light that was like peerless lightning directly turned the entire void into a purple saber light. There were no laws, no Dao charm, no divine power, only a saber light. Bang! A dull sound exploded in the endless void. Countless broken planets were turned into nothingness under this majestic aura. After the purple light, the boundless majestic aura disappeared without a trace. The void returned to its original state, as though nothing had happened. Boom! The young man landed on the void planet. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth, and the uninhabited planet under his feet shattered inch by inch. "Brother Yi, are you okay?" The slightly chubby middle-aged man hurriedly flew over and asked worriedly. The young man's broadsword once again returned to its simple appearance. He raised his hand and threw it, and the broadsword hung naturally on his back. I'm fine. This guy won't dare to come a third time. This person is very strong. I'm not his match now, the young man said solemnly as he looked at the disappearing aura in the void. The young woman also flew over and said with a cold tone, I wonder which bastard actually attracted such a terrifying powerhouse to cross planes to attack. The young man's gaze pierced through the void. After a while, he said, the person who attracted the attack is also very strong. Even if I didn't help him block this attack probably wouldn't have been able to do anything to him. However, there will definitely be a third wave of attack. Let's not care about this. Let's go. Those old fellows might have already found the place. Outside the void that passed through countless planes, in a misty realm, a 9-petaled green lotus platform floated above a golden lotus pond. The 9-petaled lotus platform was clearly missing 3 petals. On this lotus platform that was missing 3 petals sat a stunningly beautiful woman. However, her face was covered in frost. Her tender, white, lotus-like wrist was still placed in the void. Good. I didn't expect that after not going out for so many years, there would actually be 2 people who can stop me. I want to see who dares to stop me, Xingxi. After I left, how many amazing talents have appeared in this void? The stunningly beautiful woman slowly put down her lotus-like arm, and her voice carried a trace of sharp killing intent. What's going on? Outside the Great Change Realm's underground abyss, everyone looked at the void in amazement. That majestic attack did not come down and dissipated. Ning Cheng frowned slightly. He gripped the Good Fortune Divine spear tightly and was ready to go. As soon as the attack fell, he would shoot it with all his strength. Moreover, he also guessed why the attack came down. It should have something to do with An Yi's statue. Most likely, it was the statue's positioning. Because of the statue's positioning, the attack could accurately break through countless planes and fall on his head. The statue had a positioning system. As long as he blocked this kind of attack from the void several times in a row, the attack from the void would lose its positioning and no longer pose any threat to him. Don't worry. Since the first attack didn't take me away, and the second attack didn't come down, they won't be able to find my position in a short time. An Yi, who stood next to Ning Cheng, also breathed a sigh of relief and whispered, well, let's talk about this later. Let's go and take a look. Ning Cheng looked at the ruins of the cave abodes and the countless bewildered human cultivators. He knew that he had to stabilize everyone at this time. Otherwise, the underground demonic creatures would take advantage of the situation and rush out, which would be a fatal blow. Dao Lord Ning, what happened just now? How did a peerless expert come here to tear through the Great Change Realm's domain defense array and attack this place? Yin Xingwen was the first to ask. His expression was a little ugly. That attack just now was so terrifying that even he and Ning Cheng could not block it without suffering any injuries. He naturally did not know that Ning Cheng was not only injured, but his injuries were not light. Ning Cheng had only used a drop of quintessential essence of the universe. Ning Cheng smiled. I'm not very sure. Fortunately, it's all right now. Let's discuss how to deal with the underground demonic creatures. Bai Ling also asked in doubt, why did the second attack gather a more majestic aura in the void, but it didn't come down? Ning Cheng had a good impression of Bai Ling, the Yaohua Dao Court's Dao Lord. Since she took the initiative to ask, Ning Cheng did not hide it. As far as I know, the second attack should have angered an expert in our side of the space. That expert took action midway and blocked the second attack. There was one more thing that Ning Cheng did not say. That is, the second attack was blocked midway. The guy who wanted to capture An Yi could not find An Yi's specific location, so there was no third attack. Jie Xinshui stood up and said, Dao Lord Ning is right. At this time, we should deal with those demonic creatures first. Once the demonic creatures in the underground abyss take the opportunity to attack, I'm afraid. Before Jie Xinshui could finish speaking, the entire sky darkened. Endless underground demonic creatures swarmed out as if they had calculated the right time. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.